Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Or is that good evening? Welcome back to the Dugout Football Channel. I can see them already started. Good evening, and welcome back to the Dugout Football Channel. And welcome to the Friday LFC Focus Show, where tonight we will be doing the player ratings for every Liverpool player that has played this season. I'm going to say this now. This is going to cause so much debate in the live chat. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. But it's the last show of the year, and we'll just say that for sure. So, joining me as usual, we have Jack Mack LFC. How are you doing, Jack?
Not too bad, mate. Thank you very much for letting me come on again. And obviously, off the back of signing Konate, absolutely buzzing that FSG have finally dipped their hand in the purse for Jürgen on a decent centre-back now. So, yeah, buzzing, mate. Thank you for letting me come on. And I can't wait to get stuck into these player ratings.
Absolute pleasure. We've also got Mr. Connor Niblett from the Kop Council. How you doing, Connor?
I'm doing very well, thank you, mate. It's been a quite good day, you could say. You know, like Jack said, but with Konate, could be worse. We could be Man United right now, and Europa League. Just saying. But apart from that, yeah, absolutely fantastic, mate. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolute pleasure. We've also got Dan from the Mighty Reds TV. How you doing, Dan?
I'm brilliant, Doug. Thank you, as always, mate, for having me on. Hello to everybody watching out in cyberspace, all the millions of yous. Yeah, I'm absolutely fine, mate. I'm excited about Konate. Got Champions League final as well, having me tomorrow to look forward to. Could be a good game. I'm brilliant. Friday feeling, mate. Let's have it. Let's do this.
Absolutely. And we are also joined by Owen Thomas from the Kop On Podcast. Welcome back, Owen. How are you?
Great to be back. Hello, everybody. Really nice to be back. Thank you very much, Doug. Yeah, much the same as everyone else, buzzing about Konate. I don't actually think I'm going to watch the Champions League final, but I'm still, riding this wave of the last 10 games where Liverpool back on top of the form table. Champions League next year. Konate in the proverbial bag, hopefully not the literal bag. And, I don't know, looking forward to this show.
Absolutely. Sophie will be joining us. She is en route home, and I have promised her that we will not start the playing ratings without her because I am a nice guy. Let's see hello to a few people. Helen Rabel, Seamus Moore, WJ, Riley Cooper, Sophie herself as well. But let's obviously start with the big news today, is that Ibrahima Konate has agreed a deal to sign for Liverpool. Jack, your instant reaction?
Excellent potential sign. I think the writing was on the wall for a couple of months now. Obviously, Fabrizio and a very well-respected journalist in and around Liverpool may add that needed quality in which Liverpool were lacking this season. Don't get me wrong, Nat Phillips and Kabak done an amazing job, but the squad depth, especially in Liverpool's defence, is very much been lacking. Really, seeing the likes of Manchester City and Manchester United, all the squads within Europe and the Premier League will be strengthening this season. And Liverpool should not be allowing themselves to be put in a position where we're looking at playing a 20-year-old centre-back in at the heart of Liverpool's defence. Nat, which we'll discuss tonight, and Rhys done a phenomenal job, mate, but in terms of bridging that gap of quality when players aren't there, I think he's a step in the right direction. 22 years old, bags of potential, and he played in a similar system in terms of a higher line in the Bundesliga, 8 appearances in the Champions League. So you know exactly what you're going to be getting with Konate, and I honestly can't wait to see him alongside Virgil Van Dyke, because I tell you, imagine Burnley or the likes of West Brom would be relegated, unlucky, but the big physical teams that will be coming up against next season, it'd be ridiculous, those two going off for corners and say that.
To be fair, someone actually said it on Twitter. Van Dijk and Konate should be illegal. But
both 6'4", mate.
Yeah, Connor, Konate is 2 years younger than Gomez. I was actually quite surprised when I checked this. But it's building for the future again. You must be very happy with this signing.
Over the moon. Mate, it's been the most obvious transfer going, I think, so far for Liverpool. I think the rest of the positions are, the ones that we're now thinking about, who can we sign here, there, and everywhere. But, Jurgen got his man. Konate was Jurgen's first choice. We know, of course, about Kabak. We know about, collect a car. I think James Pearce even said we were after Paul Lopez, was it, or Paul Torres from Villarreal. Which, it's just glad that Jurgen's been able to get his first choice, because I think he's teased it since January, hasn't he, that wink wink, there's been no 80 million pound defenders available in January, which we know now was Konate. And look, it's like you said, we're building for the future. Joe Gomez 24, Konate 22. Look, we've got Rhys Williams, we've got Nat Phillips if he stays around. The future for Liverpool's defence, if we can keep them fit, of course, is very, very bright.
Yeah, definitely. And Dan, it comes on the day, 3 years to the day that we actually confirmed Fabinho on here. What's your instant reaction
to Konate? Listen, it's as Jack said, it's been on the cards for months, hasn't it? Fabrizio Romano must have said it was a done deal about 5 times. It was a done deal one week, then it was going to get confirmed the next, then it was a done deal the week after. So, but I think it was always going to happen. It was always on the cards. It's been done. I'm excited. Listen, I always say I'm not a massive expert on all the foreign teams, watching them and all that. But from what I read, everyone's excited. Everyone says he's big, he's strong, he's quick, he's going to fit into a Klopp team perfectly. He's going to dovetail alongside Van Dyke brilliantly. And obviously, if he's, coming in as an experienced player, it gives us a chance when Van Dijk's fit and Gomez is fit and Massive's fit, not to have to rush them back in. You know what I mean? Because we've got to play it easy a little bit with them. So it's exciting times. What it means for some of the other players like Nat Phillips and Rhys Williams, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But talking about Fabinho, what a signing he's been. 3 years. I mean, it seems... In some ways, it seems longer, doesn't it? Because we've achieved so much with him in the team. Obviously, winning the Champions League and obviously the Premier League. And in this season, he's been we'll get onto it later, but he's been one of the players of the year, hasn't he? Has to play in an unfamiliar position for a lot of the season. And he filled in well. He's brilliant. I love his wife as well. His wife's always so supportive of him, isn't she, on Twitter? I don't know if any of his followers. She's brilliant. She's even more of a top red than me. I love her. I think she's great. So, brilliant signing. And if Konate's anywhere like as successful as Fabinho's been, we'll be on to another winner. Brilliant.
And Owen, Michael Edwards has done it again, because he's bought Konate, Matip, and there was somebody else as well for the combined total. Gomez, actually. Matip, Gomez, and Konate for the combined total of £40 million. Manchester United paid 80 million on Harry Maguire. Michael Edwards is a genius, isn't he?
Yes, we don't need the fridge. We need the champagne that goes in the fridge. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I live in France. People who have ever listened to Kop On Podcast, which I recommend that everybody does, will know that I live in France, and I work a little bit in football here. Teaching English and things like that. And I speak to a lot of people about football all the time, and there are the new generation of French defenders. It's a little bit like England 25 years ago when you had Carragher, Ledley King, John Terry. You had loads and loads, a huge list of brilliant defenders. France have got that coming through. They've got Konate, they've got Fofana, Boubacar Kamara, who you need to know about, who plays for Marseille, is absolutely fabulous player. Upamecano, did I say him already? Fofana, Kamara, Jules Koundé as well. Extraordinary talent at centre-back coming through. And the people I speak to, although maybe they're a little bit biased because he's from Paris, Konate, they say Konate is the best of the bunch. And that's very, very exciting. But, and it is a big but, I counted just before we started this show that he's actually missed 405 days through injury since starting his career in 2017, just 4 years ago. So 405 days is a heck of a lot of time to be on the injury table, including one injury that was 225 days. This is according to Transfermarkt. that website. So we're going to have to be patient, and hopefully these are just growing pains because he's got such an amazing stature, doesn't he, Konate?
Yeah.
But, basically, I haven't seen him too much myself, but since David Ornstein broke the story, it's actually 2 months ago. It was 29th of March when David Ornstein said that we're definitely signing Konate, or, we've agreed terms or whatever. Since then, I've just been looking at the stats and I've been talking to people. And yes, I think we're right to be very excited. But the only question around him is his injury record. But I'm not going to be negative. I'm just going to imagine he's going to be fit for the rest of his career and be an absolute legend. Where our centre back is done for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Ron Carlisle Cummins has in. Here we are again, fellow Reds. Do not forget to like, share, and comment and subscribe. You'll never walk alone. LFC Barbados. I keep saying, Ron, every time you come in, I feel like I'm just jealous of you in Barbados right now. I'm not going to lie. As well. Ballam's asked you a question, Owen. As you work in France, would you agree the Dutch defender Sven Botman, the Lille player who helped them win the league, would you think he could go to the Premier League this summer, or maybe Atletico Madrid and La Liga?
Yeah, I mean, he's another extraordinary young talent. I mean, I can't remember if he's 20 or 21, but he's been brilliant alongside Jose Font at the back. He won't stay in Ligue 1 because he's too good for Ligue 1, basically. So someone, there's a hell of a player there for someone. Atleti would love him. Simeone would love him. And anyway, he would improve so many teams. I mean, Jose Font has been great. I don't know how old he is now, 36 or something, but you could see how Botman's learned a lot from him and from their manager, who's had Lille extremely organised in all the matches I've seen him. I haven't seen all that many, to be honest, but whenever I've seen them about, 5 or 10 times, and from the reputation of Botman and looking at videos and the stats, Botman looks absolutely incredible. So I don't know too much about him, just how everyone's raving about him as well. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the Lille manager has now left to join Nice, not very Nice. Of Nice to get him, but honestly, I'm still getting my head around it. I think me and you had this conversation, Connor, last night on your show, that Lille have just won the league. It just doesn't make sense for the Lille manager to go to another club, does it?
It happens to every team that does well at some point. Obviously, it disbands and it separates and things like this. But the fact that Lille are managing to separate all their squad now, just after winning, and beating PSG for the title, and it's just, of course, their goalkeeper's just signed for AC Milan, and obviously Donnarumma's going wherever he's going, and look. It would have been nice if Lille could stick together and maybe retain the title, but I just think PSG are going to win it again next year, because they'll go out and buy, they'll probably go out and buy some of the players from Lille just to get the title back.
Hello to Dave. Dave's LFC chats. I noticed you were going live at 7:30 tonight. Why is it we always seem to schedule things and then somebody goes live and it goes all pear-shaped and all that? But no, I'm only joking. Hold over your Connor pointed at Jack. Yeah, but I absolutely agree. I think that this is the thing about Lille, is that they're going to be picked off now by probably like PSG. All the clubs probably in Germany, all their good players are going to have to go now. And obviously, but we obviously talked about this last night as well, that the managerial merry-go-round is absolutely mad right now. Owen, what do you make of the rumours about Pochettino back to Tottenham? I find them mad, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would... It's a really difficult one. Why did he leave Spurs? I mean, in the first place, is it because he wasn't backed in the transfer market by Levy? I don't know. I don't know why he left, and I certainly don't know why he would go back unless Harry Kane has said to the chairman, well, the only way I will stay at Spurs is if you get Poch back. And then, of course, because Antonio Conte is out of a job, he could be going to Madrid, of course, or maybe with PSG. It's complicated because, as you say, it's a merry-go-round. But if, for example, maybe Mbappe has said to PSG that he will sign a new deal if Zidane comes in at PSG. Maybe that's the case. In which case, PSG will be trying. I have no idea, but it's hard. It's just speculation from the outside. So I don't want to say. I mean, there are a few possibilities. I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly don't know what to make of it. But what I will say, thank blooming goodness we still have Jurgen Klopp as our manager. He's not. He's as loyal as anything. Not unlike the other lot. Conte has left Inter to potentially go to Real Madrid. We've got Juventus sacking Pirlo to get in back Max Allegri. What? I don't get that one, Jack. Honestly, Max Allegri back to Juve.
Well, hopefully, if he has his way, he'll end up paying the refs off again, like last time. So I have to keep an eye on his bank transactions anyway for Juve. It's madness. I don't understand if Poch does leave back to Tottenham, Levy trying to wiggle room round Tottenham supporters, get them back on side. If I was Pochettino, I'd be staying at PSG. You've got the ability to sign any player within Europe with the amount of transfer fee. Lille and Nice, what's happening with there? I don't think Poch will win Ligue 1 next season. I think you'll be looking at Nice winning the league, obviously, off the back of, because he won the Ligue 1 with Monaco as well, and he's went to Lille, won well there. So it's so evident that he's a very good manager, that fella. So I've forgotten his name, but he's a very good coach. And the Ligue 1, it's so dominant by PSG, but could you class that as a failure by Pochettino? Yes, because they should be, the amount of money they plough into the French league, they're expected to win every competition. But as you mentioned, where's Zidane going? Is he going to go to PSG? It's all up in the air. But if you're a Manchester United or you're like at Spurs as well, you've got these elite level managers available, willing, and it's that when we had Rodgers, there was Klopp, there was Ancelotti, world class managers on the market. If they're available, you go out and buy them for your football club.
Oh, hello.
Hi,
She's got the new kit on as well. How are you?
Of course I have. Like, it needs a moment, please. Can we just...
By the way, congratulations.
Thank
I don't know if it...
congratulations.
I've seen on Twitter, but congratulations. But yeah, we're just talking about we were talking about Konate. Then we've gone into a bit of a transition of managers moving around. It's like a merry-go-round. Thoughts on Konate?
Buzzing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fucking buzzing. I put a tweet out earlier being like Virgil and Konate, and then like the gif of Monica from Friends being like 7. I'm like, that's a sexy partnership. That's going to be lethal. Absolutely buzzing. I absolutely agree. Right, it's time for the player ratings. Right, we're gonna do this one by one. I'm gonna go around each and every one of you, and we'll get your player rating for this player. So we start off with our number one, and let's be honest, what a season it has been for him. A bit of a roller coaster season, that has to be said. Obviously lost his dad. He made a few mistakes against Manchester City, but got that crucial winning goal at West Brom that did actually go on and get us top 4. Jack, what would you give Alisson Becker out of 10 for the season?
I'd have to give him an 8. He obviously kept 10 clean sheets in the Premier League, and he got a goal, the very important goal. He got the same amount of goals as Jordan Henderson, Thiago, Joel Matip as well. So yeah, there's so many games this season which we've watched Ali in between the sticks, and so many games that you can pick from, especially at the back end of the season, that he bailed Liverpool out of games. It's refreshing to have a goalkeeper that actually does his job. And he's been phenomenal since we brought him, mate. But yeah, an 8. There's so many ways you can describe about him, but an 8 for me.
Connor.
If we're speaking about last 10 games of the season, 11 out of 10. If we're talking about overall, I'd have to go with Jack. 8 out of 10 for me. Ali, for me, he had a good start to the season and then had a really poor couple of weeks, which we know, personal reasons and that. But of course, the mistakes against Man City, Leicester, and that. But they don't matter. The last 10 games, he was absolutely fantastic. Getting the best goal, I think probably I'll ever celebrate in my life, unless a madness happens again. But look, for me, Ali's been Mr. Reliable again for us when we've called upon him. He's saved us so many times this season. We can't even keep count. So yeah, it's an 8 for me, for Ali.
Sophie?
8 as well.
8.
I think,
yeah.
Taking account the last few games where he upped his game, like if you base it on that alone, absolutely phenomenal. But you can't ignore the fact that his performance up until then, at that point, he had really shaky performances. He conceded quite a few goals that he should have been saving. The last few seasons, we've seen him save with his eyes closed. So, yeah, he was good, but we know he can be better than that. So I'm going to agree with the rest of the lads, really, 8.
Dan?
Yeah, 8. Just as a concur again with all the panels so far. But yeah, I've got to give him an 8. Listen, his first 2 seasons, he was absolutely 10 out of 10, if not more. He was the best keeper in the world. I wouldn't swap him for anyone. This season, there was that little dip in form, and even at the start of the season, I don't know if you remember Jamie Carragher saying he wasn't on top form when we conceded like the 3 against Leeds and all that on the opening day. He was a bit critical there, but yeah, there was a dip in form, but he come back really strong at the end of the season. But yeah, 8 out of 10.
And Owen.
See, for me, I've been thinking about this. I want to give him and other players actually 2 different marks, right? Because there's one about how he did compared to how good he could be. And I think he was under his level this season. So I'd give him like a 7 out of 10. Like, not just the mistakes that led to goals, but he also made quite a lot of mistakes where he gave the ball away and sort of got away with it as well. I now get a bit of the jitters, I have to say, when we're playing it on the floor back to Ali, because he does let those attackers get a bit too close for my liking. So I'd say, sort of in the context of how good he could be, I'd say, yeah, maybe 7, because he was amazing for the last 10 games, but before that, not really. But then in the context of the season, this is a different mark, because you have to take this whole season into account, I think. You have to say all of the craziness. It's been crazy. So to give player ratings in context with obviously the tragedy, the personal tragedy he went through and everything else, it's a 10, because I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And the way he responded to adversity and coming back and, putting in those incredible performances and, of course, getting a winner with his head, Dixie Dean style. I mean, that'll be remembered in 100 years. Unbelievable stuff. So in the context, 10, but in terms of how good he could have been, a 7.
Okay. I've given him an 8.5. Reason being, I think he's had some good games, he's had some bad games, but that goal just deserves a 0.5. It was just incredible. So I'm giving Alisson Becker an 8.5. There's been a couple of people that have actually given their player ratings, and they actually agree with all of us, really. Alisson 8, Ali 8 seems fair. Crap connection, says Helen Raybold. Who's that behind the stat? Who's that behind the stat? Is an evening, guys. Great show as always. Hope you're well. When you're going to get me on the show, just DM me. Just DM me and we'll get something sorted, my friends. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about anybody. Now we go on to a man, as we were just speaking, it is 3 years to the day that we signed him, and I have to say my rating for Fabinho is a 9.5. I think Fabinho has been one of our best players this season. Whenever he was asked to go as centre-back, I think he was fantastic, but you can see the actual progress that he's actually made when we've seen him in DM. So for me, it's a 9.5. Jack, what are you giving Fabinho?
I give him a 9. Yeah, for me. As you already alluded to, mate, the utility of the man. Obviously, that was a big attribute to why we signed him. He's been centre-back. He's been everywhere this season, apart from in goal, mate. But yeah, I give him an 8.5 for me. If it wasn't for him, I think we'd end up having to play one of us centre-back in terms of that Liverpool defence. But 8.5 for me, mate.
Connor?
I'm going to give him a 9. Just purely on the basis, it would be a 10, but I've only got 1 10 on my team. And I think, like Jack said, if it wasn't for Fabinho, we would have been in so much trouble this season. We was in trouble anyway, but we would have been in even more down in it. But for me, if you're talking about a player that is unselfish, just look at Fabinho. You know, in the Champions League, Jurgen said, you know, his favourite position is the 6. He loves playing the 6. And look what he does in the 6. He's the best defensive midfielder in world football. And at centre-back, he's a decent centre-back, but, you know, he's done a very good job there, but we know he isn't there. But without him this season, Liverpool wouldn't have been able to get Champions League, you know, plain and simple. So for me, it's a 9.
Sophie?
9.5 Fabinho. I think his performances this season have been outstanding. He's been, he's been the glue that's held that entire team together. He stepped up and went into centre back, and we did really well for a while. Obviously, then the cracks started to show because we needed him in midfield. The minute he went back into midfield, it completely changed the game again. He is so vital to this squad, and he is just unstoppable. And it's been the best 3 years having him in our team since we signed him. The best signing no one knew about. Absolutely wonderful. And I just think if it wasn't for him stepping up in that centre-back role, we'd have been in an awful situation. Regardless of whether he was the best centre-back ever, he wasn't. He was a decent makeshift centre-back, and he kept us going along until we got, a decent centre-back in the centre-back partnership in the end. And 9.5 through and through. If he'd have been in midfield the entire season, he'd have been a feckin' 10. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just been very, very consistent for sure. Dan, what's your rating for Fabinho?
Yeah, well, I just Connor and Sophie both said he was a decent centre-back. I actually think he's a lot better than that, to be honest with you, centre-back, especially at the start of the season when Van Dyke first got injured and he was playing with a more established partner. He was playing with Gomez, wasn't he, at first, and then Matip. I thought he was actually really good. He looked like one of the best centre-backs in the league, to be honest with you. But, of course, we do need him in midfield. The results showed that at the end of the season. What was it, 1, 8 and 2 out the last 10. And the 2 draws were the ones where he'd slot it back into centre-back. We need him in midfield. He's been an absolutely brilliant signing. I'll give him a 9 out of 10.
9. And Owen?
10 for me. I don't think he did it. He put a foot wrong. As Dan was saying, I agree that when he played at centre-back, he was absolutely superb. And I think our results suffered, but only because he wasn't in midfield. But, he's still brilliant at the back, and he was brilliant in midfield. I don't know what else he could have done. I don't know, where he loses 0.5 or 1 mark out of 10 because he's just brilliant. He's absolutely wonderful. One of my favourite players. For many, many years, actually, because I do love a good number 6, and he's a complete boss. So 10.
10. Wow. To be fair, he was close to being a 10 for me. He was very, very close to being a 10 for me. Now we're going to a man who we have missed badly this season. It is our number 4, Virgil Van Dyke. This is a tricky one for me. Jack, what would you give Virgil Van Dyke?
6, because he's literally played 5 games this season. Kept 1 clean sheet and scored 1 goal in those 5 appearances. I'd give him higher, but you can't really mark a player that's only played 5 more appearance. He's made 5 Premier League appearances, might that be said. So, and obviously he was in that squad that got absolutely spanked by Aston Villa. I'm hoping we get a fully fit Virgil, but I'd love to give him a higher rating, but you can't, for me personally. So a 6 for Virgil.
Connor?
To be honest, though, I didn't want to give him a rating. I'm not gonna lie, but I've gone for a 7 for Virgil. I think 7 for me is just average. But the fact that the defense, okay, you could say it looked a bit shaky in that, but as we've seen from him not being there, how crucial he is there, and he's made our defense look so comfortable throughout the years that this year we've clearly seen the miss of Virgil van Dijk. And for me, he did okay. Like when he was fit, of course, like Jack said, you can't base a player's season off 5 games throughout the year. So for me, I'm just going to give him a 7.
Sophie?
My heart says 1,000, but my head says 5. He didn't play.
5.
He didn't play.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. If Virgil played, he'd be getting nothing less than a 9. Absolutely. Even in a diabolical season, he'd be getting nothing less than a 9. Whereas if Shad was out, he'd be me 10 every single day of the week. Like, he's on the back of this shirt, he's on the back of every home shirt. Like, he'd be a 10. But he didn't play. And I think, I don't want to give him, I agree with Connor. I didn't really want to give him a rating because it was 5 games. It was 5 games at the start of the season when everything's shaky anyway. And I don't know, because I didn't technically really I wanted to give him like a 2 because he didn't play like 98% of the season. He didn't play it. He wasn't there. He's been injured. But I thought what Virgil brought to the squad and to the defence, and even though we were part of that 7-2 defeat at Villa, you know, it's Virgil. Like, he had to give him something more than. Well, I was looking at some of the other ratings I've got, like, had really low, and I was thinking, well, he did better than them, and even he only played 5 games. So.
It's a difficult one. It's a very, very difficult one. Dan, what's yours for Virgil van Dijk?
Well, I'm like Sophie. I absolutely adore the man. If I went downstairs when he was in bed with me missus, I'd suck him in and make him a cup of tea. He should be the next James Bond. He's an absolute icon. I love the guy. He's the ultimate alpha. He's the ultimate alpha male. But how I'm judging this, I'm starting off with everyone from a 5 and then going higher or lower. So he didn't play, so I'm going to stick with the 5. But the games that he did play, we conceded 3 against Leeds on the opening day. And he was a bit sloppy with one of the goals. He looked like he was coasting a bit. And then we got legged, didn't we, off Villa for 7. So I'm going to give him a 4. And I hate to do that because I love the guy, but I'm going to go for a 4, because I'm starting at 5. And in the games he did play, we conceded quite a lot of goals. So I'm just going to go down from there. Sorry, Virg, but I'm sure you'll be 10 out of 10 next season.
And Mr. Thomas.
Sorry.
Mr. Thomas.
I don't think it's really fair to give him a rating. So whatever. I mean, I've got all the minutes in front of me in all competitions. He played 595 minutes. So that's less than Nico Williams, who played 744, and it's less than Takumi Minamino, who played 781 minutes for us this season. So I mean, I wouldn't even give Nico or Takumi a mark out of 10. So whatever the average is for not applicable, call it 5 or 6 if you want, or whatever. But he was brilliant against Everton. If you look back, I mean, you're right, Dan, to point out those 2 performances weren't the best, but he was amazing against Everton
before he got hacked down.
Before he got hacked down, exactly.
It makes me sad. I don't want to relive it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll change the subject. So not applicable, or 5 or 6, whatever you want to write down.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, I'm with Connor. I've given him a 7 just because Virgil's boss. It's as simple as that. To a man that is going to be leaving us, unfortunately, and Connor, I said
if
this.
You say one word, I swear to God, I will.
What have I done?
No, I know what you'll like. I know what you'll say.
I have said there's to be no Genie slander. All we basically say is we wish the man well. I'll come to Sophie first. What are you giving Genie Wijnaldum for the season?
54. No, I'm not. I'm really not. 8.5. 8.5. Genie was solid. He was there when we needed him. He was available at the right times. Did he always play the best games? No. But was he solid? Was he, a key linchpin in that midfield this season? Yes. He was just exactly what we needed, and he'll be forever missed. And I don't care who says what about him. I will fight to the death for Gini Wijnaldum. He's had better seasons for us, but he's been pivotal. He held that midfield together when Hendo went out, when Fabinho dropped back into centre-back, when Thiago was out injured. He was there. He was the remaining player, and he did a fantastic job at it. So 8.5.
8.5. I've actually gone the same as you, Sophie. I've gone 8.5. Jack?
Yeah, the same. I think we've looked at each other's scores. 8.5, 2 goals, no assists in the Premier League in 38 games appearances. But Gini is not a stat player. When you watch him, he doesn't look good on stats, but in person, watch him on telly and that, he's phenomenal, as Sophie's already alluded to. I think he will be sorely missed. His energy that he gives this Liverpool team so much. He gives so much more than stats don't pick up, and I think a lot of fans out there, not non-Liverpool fans, give Gini a load of stick, and I don't know what football they're watching really, but he's been phenomenal. He was our captain the back end of the season as well, when James Milner was injured and obviously Jordan wasn't playing. So captain's performance over the last couple of weeks, he helped us spearhead us to third in the Premier League, got his Champions League football, and all the best for him. So an 8.5 for Gini. I love him.
Connor?
It's a 10 out of 10 in terms of fitness, because he somehow doesn't get tired and not injured. But for me, it's an 8 for Gini. 8. I think he's Mr. Reliable, if your name's not James Milner, in terms of, being there for the whole squad and the team. And like, Sophie and Jack said, he was the captain the latter part of the season. He was the guy that was constantly there for Liverpool. The only games I was frustrated with him massively was both Madrid games. But that was just me personally. But apart from that, he's been Mr. Consistent all season for Liverpool. And you know what? We're probably going to miss him in the long term. But, sadly, players want to move on and the club wants to move on. But I wish Gini all the best. What looks like, anyway, is move to Barcelona. And yeah, I hope he goes on to win La Liga next year, because, he's done everything at Liverpool. And I just wish him all the best.
Yeah, I think every Red around the world will definitely wish Mr. Wijnaldum well. Well, I mean everybody. There is a small minority. I'm not even going to mention names. Dan Wijnaldum, what's your rating for Wijnaldum?
I absolutely love Gini. As the guys there in the panel have all said, he's the ultimate team player, and his role is to facilitate the work of the fullback. We all know that in a Klopp system. That said, I still think there was times last season when I was watching him and I thought that he needed to be a bit more proactive and a bit more aggressive in his passing and his shooting, looking a bit forward. It's all very well being the DM and being the team player and that, but there's also times when you've got to take the bull by the horns. There's a tendency now in football to call people like the DM or whatever, but I remember liking when I first started watching football, Steve McMahon was the DM. By today's standard, but he would also get goals, he'd get assists, he'd get involved and take the bull by the horns. He wouldn't just sort of ghost games and be happy getting a 6 out of 10. So I think there was times this season when Wijnaldum did need to be a bit more proactive. So for that reason, I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10, 7.5.
Okay, Owen?
Yeah, it's a really interesting answer. It's very fair from Dan, I think, that because if you are going to level any criticism at him, I mean, there were times I always look at pass completion and the amount of touches people have. And I remember one game he had 24 touches. And if you put that in context with most midfielders, they get, at least 70 or 80 over the course of 90 minutes. He had 24 touches and he played the entire match. And that's really, really low. So I do know where you're coming from, Dan. But he's third on the list for minutes played, 3,913 minutes, 51 matches out of 53. I'm worried because I love Gini. I do love him. Don't get me wrong from what I just said. I think he did a marvellous job in the team. The only reason why he's not a 10 is because exactly what Dan says. Like he could have been a little bit more proactive in some games. There were other games where he's utterly magnificent. He's speaking of stats that Jack was talking about. He's at the top for passes completed in all of Europe, in Europe's top 5 leagues, keeping the ball 92.5% of the time, which is ridiculous because most midfielders, have a good season to get 82, 83%. So 92% is nuts. But then you could call him a barber because it's always short back and sides. Exactly. So yes, but there you go. So there you go, 8.5 out of 10. I'm going to miss him. I'm worried. I hope we get 2 players to replace him because 3,900 minutes. Our next midfielder, if you discount Fabinho, who played a lot of centre-back, is Thiago Alcantara on 2,200 minutes. So we need 2 players to replace Gini. We really do.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I think everyone has said 8.5s as well. Now we move on to a man who has came in and, let's be honest, been boss. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He did take a lot of time to settle in, but then he did get crunched by Richarlison. Honestly, let's not go back to that every game. But Thiago, for me, the last 10 games, he has just shown the Thiago that we actually brought from Bayern Munich. So I'm giving him the same rating as Gini. I'm giving him an 8.5. Jack, what are you giving Mr. Alcantara?
Yeah, 8.5, mate. I think I've given him Fabinho and Gini all similar ratings because I think they're being on par. I was looking at the stats. He's made, especially in the Premier League, he's made 24 appearances. I thought he played a bit less than that, but it's considering obviously he was crunched in the Everton game, mate. But if there's one player that I'm the most looking forward to, as well as Konate next season, Thiago, in a full pre-season under Klopp, I think he'll be a cut above the rest in the Premier League. So yeah, 8.5, mate. He got that goal at the back end of the season, and I can't wait to see more of this lad.
Absolutely, Connor.
I've gone for the same rating as I give Gini. I've given him an 8. I think, it did take him a while to get himself up to speed to Premier League football, but when he did in the last couple of games of the season, he was fantastic. And that was the reason why we signed him. I don't think we've ever had a player that we've bought that has just brought that world-class element towards Liverpool in terms of, just taking it by the scruff of the neck and just, pinging a ball, over the top and that. And I think next season, like what Jack said, he's going to be phenomenal if he has a full pre-season. And I can fully see us talking about 9s and 10s next year for Thiago, because if he's anything like he was for the last 10 games of the season, he's going to be up there with potentially Player of the Year contenders for me.
I would agree. Sophie?
Thiago was a hard one. I've written 8.5, scribbled it out, 9, scribbled it out, 8.5, scribbled it out, put it back. In the end, I've settled on 8.5 because I was this close to giving him a 9. And then I just thought, how long was he out injured for? And if, as I said before with Virgil, giving them a lower, that's the way I've done it. If they've been injured for a significant period, I've knocked a mark or 2 off what I think they should be. I would have put him as an 8 because of the length of his injury, but since he's come back, he took a bit of time to embed himself in the team, but then like the lads have just said, we've started seeing that Thiago that we bought, the one that we were all so excited for, and we've saw a glimmer of what's going to be next season when everyone's back fit, and he's a fantastic player. He's just no-nonsense football about him whatsoever, cuts a pass out, reads a game like no man's business, and wonderful, wonderful player. So in the end, I settled for 8.5 because I'd rather err on the side of caution and leave room for improvement than overhype him. No.
That is very, very fair. Dan?
Yeah, I haven't rated him as highly as the gang, I'll be honest. The first game and a half against Chelsea when he come on as sub, and then against Everton, he was brilliant, wasn't he? He was like man of the match. And the last few games of the season, he was imperious, and I'm really, really excited to see him next season if he can stay fit in a strong team, because he was like 10 out of 10 for the last few games. But from the period after he got that bad injury and he had COVID and whatever else to, maybe 5 or 6 games towards the end of the season, I was a bit disappointed with him, to be honest with you. There's mitigating circumstances, but I thought there was times when he looked all at sea, to be honest with you. I remember the game when we played Man United when Pogba was streaking down the right-hand side and he was chasing after him. He didn't look like he had the legs, and I was worried about him. I really was. And yeah, I've rated him as a 7, to be honest with you. But I'm really excited to see him next season. Okay. I think next season is going to be his big season for him. So yeah, Thiago 7.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see.
I was going to say as well, Doug, there was a period when he looked like he was like an absolute nap for a yellow card every game, diving into silly tackles. And he gave a few costly free kicks away as well, which cost us. So, a 7.
Okay, Owen?
See, I'm going to defend his tackling. I've always defended his tackling because if you look at it, he's the best tackler we've got in midfield. And not only that, he's in the top 5% of all midfield tacklers in Europe with an average of 3.61 tackles per game. A lot of it's risky and he gets yellow cards if he just slightly mistimes it. And that was to do with lacking rhythm because he was coming back from injury. I do totally agree with Dan in terms of when he can't turn, he can't run for Toffee, which is why he looks so much better with Fabinho behind him. But with the ball, it reminds me... I'm older than you guys in terms of I remember I was a kid in the 80s, right? And there was this ice cream in the 80s called a Knickerbocker Glory. Okay, Google it.
How old do you think you are?
Well, no, does it still exist?
Mate, I grew up on a Knickerbocker Glory. They were like, when you went for a dinner with your mum and she went, "You want a Knickerbocker Glory? All your birthdays and Christmases came a second once."
Exactly. I'm so glad that still exists, that thrill of the Knickerbocker Glory. I'm glad it wasn't just consigned to the...
Was it the one, is a Knickerbocker Glory the one with the banana in?
Yes, it's got a banana, a halved banana on either side. It's halved lengthways. You've got tons of cream, you've got ice cream, you've got thousands of islands, you've got cherries, it's just paradise on a dessert plate. Oh, excuse me. I get the same thrill watching Thiago play football as exactly what you just said, Sophie. All of the Christmases, all of the birthdays at once when that Knickerbocker Glory was put in front of me in the 1980s as a child. And it's a glorious feeling, and long may it continue. So I'm going to give him a 9 just because he can't run backwards, and that's a bit of a shame. But no, 9.5 because he's something of a god.
Well, welcome to the Great British Ice Cream Show, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm only joking. Now we move on to, Mr. Reliable, James Milner. I'm going to give him an 8. I think when he's been in the team, you've actually seen the real... he's Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent. Hardly ever injured as James Milner. For me, he's an 8 for me. Dan, I'll come to you first with this one. What are you giving James Milner?
Yeah, I'll go with that one, Doug. I'll go with an 8 for him. When he played, he was solid, wasn't he? Did exactly what we needed, and especially when we missed Henderson so much for the long periods of last season. When he come in, he sort of steadied the ship a little bit, didn't he? And he gave us... He sort of set the tempo, didn't he, and set the agenda with his tackling and his work rate in midfield. And one game where you really noticed that was in the 2 games against Madrid. He didn't play, did he, in the first leg? And we never got near them. And in the second leg, very first minute, was it Benzema? He absolutely ploughed into, didn't he? And we didn't end up turning it round, but it just showed you what we missed in the first leg. So I'll give him another solid 8 out of 10, and long may it continue with James Milner. 8.
Owen?
Yeah, that's a great summary. Great shout. I forgot about that tackle. Beautiful. He's so he had 30 matches he featured in, but 19 starts and 1,760 minutes. So fewer minutes than Curtis Jones, Jordan Henderson, and Thiago, and of course Gini. And perhaps he was underused, and perhaps Jurgen Klopp would regret not starting him against Real Madrid in the first match, I would imagine, because he's a brilliant pro, top guy. 8 out of 10. Yes.
Sophie?
I'd give Milner a 7.5. Love Milner. Absolutely think he's a brilliant player. But when we've seen Milner this season, he's not really been a starter. As Owen just said, his starting stats aren't the most impressive this season. He's more been used as a substitute. So when he has come on, he's made an impact. And I have said when he's come on, we've seen a captain on the pitch. He's slot in for Robbo very, very well. But that being said, I've seen a massive decrease in quality in Milner this season. I've seen it, and I know he's, 32, 33?
He's 35 and 144
he's older.
days.
35.
Yeah.
So he's 35 now. He's getting on, and you're starting to see that edge is wearing off him. That edge that made Milner so brilliant is starting to wear off because it does. You know, we can't keep up with the intensity of it all anymore. I absolutely adore him. I think he does a brilliant job, and he doesn't give two shits about nothing, does he? He's just Mr. Reliable, and he just stays up to his nickname. But that being said, he has been injured, and like I said, this is what I've based it on. If they've been injured, he has been injured. We did miss him for a significant portion of the season again. He wasn't a known starter, and some games when he came on as a sub, he didn't really impact the game the way we expect Milner to. So for that reason, 7.5.
Connor?
I've gone the same as Sophie. I've gone 7.5. He's Liverpool's Mr. Reliable every season, without a doubt. And the thing is with James Milner, you can put him in every position. You could probably put him in goalkeeper if you really wanted to, and he would do a decent job for you. And that's the thing I think everyone loves about James Milner, is the fact that he's no nonsense. He can, come on, calm the game down, and that's what he's been used, I think, for most of the season. He's been brought on to, just calm everything down, have that leader in the midfield that we've missed sometimes from the likes of Jordan Henderson and Fabinho sometimes not being there as well. And I think, it's like Sophie said, he's in his latter years, 35 years of age. He's going to, I think he's out of contract next summer with Liverpool. Will Liverpool give him a new contract? Maybe a coaching role might be involved with that, or will he finish his career at Leeds? I think that's another potential thing, but he is Liverpool's Mr. Fine Wine. And, with fine wine, it gets better through age. So, I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy Milner. So, I give him a 7.5 this season.
And Jack?
Yeah, 7.5. Obviously, injuries have prohibited him throughout the season. He's stopped start so many times. So, 7.5 as already the panel said. But that's a very good rating still. It's a consistent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 7.5, mate. Yeah.
Definitely. So 3 8s and 3 7.5s. I like that. This could be a little bit of a debatable one. Naby Keita. Oh God, Naby.
Go on, you go first.
Here we go.
I'm really sorry, Naby, but you've hardly played, and that game against Real Madrid was the worst game I think I've seen in the Liverpool shirt. I'm going to give him a 4. I don't know if that's harsh. Or not, but for me, 4. Sophie?
You said 4 is harsh. Wait till you see what I've given.
Oh no.
I was like, 1, 2, 1, 2. I went with 2 in the end because he did have a good little sprint in that Real Madrid game. He did a little something for about 35 seconds. But he spent more time, as our good, Chris Welch, good follower of our channel, would say, he spent more time in Liverpool FC hospital. He should be on City more than he's been a Liverpool player this season. He has been absolutely atrocious. Actually, a 2 is being generous in my opinion, because I am done with Naby Keita. I am done with that kid. I do not care anymore. If I could give him a 0 and justify it, I'd give him a fucking 0. No, done. Maybe I'm harsh, but done.
Okay. Well, I thought a 4 was harsh, but wow, a 2. Connor.
I wrote 2, 0, -1, 2.
Connor, who absolutely loves Naby, lad. This is going to be interesting. What have you given Naby?
Everyone knows I love Naby Keita.
Why?
But hey. I've given him a 4.
4.
Because there's a time and period where you do become sick and tired of his injuries. And like everyone knows, that first half in Madrid was one of the most shocking performances by a Liverpool player, I think, ever in a European Cup, in a European game. And it does come that time where Liverpool will look at it and go, when is the best possible chance to sell him for money? And I think that might be this summer or next summer. But going into this season, I was very optimistic with Naby. I was like, he had a good end to last season. And I was like, coming into it, he was probably one of our best midfielders. Then got injured again, as per usual. And so, as you can tell by Sophie's laughter. But look, it's one of these things where I think Naby Keita is at the bottom of the pecking order for Liverpool. And I think
yeah. 4. Jack?
I think FSG might as well fail out in this year. So I don't know. He just doesn't. He spent too many times. I think one of the injuries, he got injured playing outside in the garden, and I'm like, well, like how you're a professional footballer, you're probably contracted not to play football or like obviously messing about. Because if we met him in the street and he got injured, probably even if we just looked at him, he'd probably get injured. So yeah, a 3 I've given. I think it frustrates me. If there's one player in this Liverpool squad that frustrates me so much, I don't know what he's getting injured. How he's getting injured walking up the stairs at home or something, like, or whatever we're doing to him. So a 3, it frustrates me. There's a player somewhere in there. Edwards must have seen something, but I'm hoping the RB Leipzig case doesn't strike with Konate. They're just selling us whatever the RB Leipzig chief executive sold to Michael Edwards and Jürgen and this player. But yeah, 3, very deeply disappointing. It frustrates me. It move on for me, mate, because I'm just going to go even on more. But a 3 from me.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sophie. I'm going to give him a 2. I can't honestly remember him playing this season apart from the Madrid game, and he was listen, I'll cut him some slack because he come in from nowhere for that game, didn't he? And no one was expecting him to play, probably least of all himself, judging by the way he played. And players do need rhythm. Yeah. So I reckon Klopp will have a few sleepless nights about that because it was a bad decision to play him and it backfired spectacularly. I've sort of been a bit like Connor for a while. I've always thought, there's something about Naby, but it's starting to remind me now of the story. I don't know if you remember it when you was a kid, when you got told it, of the Emperor's New Clothes, where he gets told that his new clothes are great and he goes out naked. And it's like that with Naby Keita. We got told he was this great player. He was the heir to Gerrard's number 8 shares. He was the best new young African player. And 3 years on, we're still sort of saying, he's good, Naby, but performances just haven't been there. I feel sorry for him because for whatever reason, his body's just not cut out for the Klopp team or the Premier League, whatever it is. But I think if any sort of money you could get in for him now, I'd take it. And yeah, 2 out of 10 for Naby. And say I'm sorry because I do. He seems like a nice guy, but yeah, 2 out of 10.
Oh, I'd sell Naby for a pack of rich tea biscuits at this point, you know.
Owen, what are you giving Naby?
Well, whereas with Fabinho, I wasn't quite sure why people were taking 1 or 2 points off his score. I'm not quite sure how anyone can justify anything over a 1 for Naby Keita, because honestly, what has he done? I agree with Sophie. What has he done? He's been. I don't think it's his fault. I think Dan's exactly right to mention that as well. Like, I mean, he's out of rhythm. But I just tallied up his in total minutes in the last 3 seasons since he joined us, right? And it's 3,369 minutes. This season, 744 minutes, which again is less than Nico Williams and it's less than Takumi Minamino. And there are actually 8 players that I counted who had more minutes this season than Naby Keita has done in 3 seasons. So the effect that has on a footballer is, as you say, rhythm's important. He's got nothing. He needs to stay fit and get playing for about 3 months minimum to get back.
Never mind 3 second months.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. So I think we should either send him on loan and see if he can get fit, if you're optimistic, or whilst his reputation is still high, just cash in, because I think it's unrealistic that he will regain suddenly, the sturdiness that he definitely had at Leipzig. He wasn't injured at Leipzig, and so it's time to cash in. I can't see. I mean, even 1 is generous, but 1.
1. Wow. So we've had 1s, we've had 2s, we've had 3s, and we've had 4s. Right. I'm going to do this slightly different. We're going to do the front 3 now. So we have Bobby Firmino, Sadio Mane, and Mohamed Salah. I'm going to point out straight off the bat, Mohamed Salah is getting a 10 from me. Reason being, without his goals, we would be nowhere near that top 4. So Mohamed Salah is getting a 10. I'm giving Bobby Firmino an 8, and I'm also giving Sadio Mane a 7. So, Jack, what would you give the front 3?
Well, we'll start with Bobby. Not been his best season, but he's 3rd highest in the Premier League for goal scorer for Liverpool. 9 goals, I think it was 7 assists, in the Premier League. So, 7. I'm going to give Bobby a 8. Give Sadio Mane an 8, because he's joint level in terms of assists with Bobby in the Prem, and for goals wise, he scored at least Liverpool's 2nd highest in the Premier League with 11. So I give Mane an 8.5, and then give Mo a 10 or 11 out of 10, because obviously his exploits for the season have been phenomenal. So do a 10 for Salah, 8.5 for Mane, and an 8 for Bobby.
Connor?
Instant 10 for Mo Salah. That's an obvious. Without him this season, Liverpool would have been screwed. And for me, I've gone for 7.5 for both Bobby and Sadio.
Ooh, okay.
But for both of them, it's been a bad season for both. I think more so Sadio, because for him, his level is a lot more higher than Bobby Firmino. And I think he said it himself, he doesn't know why it's happened this season. And look, each great player has a bad season, now and then, but we can hope that next season is better for Sadio. And I think, look, you just looking at him, and his numbers and that, you can see that, he does try, he is, trying things and that. And I think he will be back to his best next season. I just think it's one of those. But Bobby, for me personally, I think as the false 9 for Liverpool is not a thing that we should look at going to the future. I think Bobby Firmino in the number 9 role isn't a thing. And I think, yes, Bobby's done fantastic over the last couple of games in the league, but I think overall, he had a couple of good games to the start of the season, and then there's just, for me, there's too much of a gap between goals and assists between the Premier League season. You look back at that Spurs game that we won, in December, scored the winning goal, and then the Manchester United game then away. For me, there is too much of a gap there. For me personally. So I would say 7.5 for both, and then 10 for Mo.
Sophie?
Bobby 7.5, Mane 8, and Salah 9.5. Pretty much for Mane and Bobby, same reasons as everybody else. Gave Bobby 0.5 less than Mane because I often said throughout the season that Bobby needs to be dropped in replacement for Jota. I thought Bobby, as Connor just said, his role in the false 9 is pretty much done and dusted for me. I think he's a very, very good player. I don't want to lose him anytime soon, but I think I'd rather see him in a cam type role rather than a 10. I'd rather see him in that position more so, because when he's played there, It's like a brand new signing. So I think if Bobby redesigns his position next season, it'll be a lot higher, his rating. Had he played like a 10 role all season behind Jota, I'd probably give him a lot higher. Marnie, again, I don't think Marnie played badly. I think he just couldn't finish his dinner. So, but his actual gameplay wasn't bad at all, and he was involved in quite a lot of the goals. So, yeah, 8 for me. Salah, didn't give him a 10, purely because I don't think anyone deserved a 10 this season. For me,
fair.
A 10 is deserved for a season where you are out and out phenomenal, flawless performances week in, week out. It's the creme de la creme, and it's very difficult to give a 10. So I would never give a player a 10 unless they had a perfect season. Mo Salah has had undeniably better seasons than this. His season was still great, but he's had much better seasons than this before. And we've won things, and we didn't win. We got 3rd place, 9.5. I do think our season success relies heavily on Salah's shoulders, but he wasn't a 10. Not in my opinion.
Oh. Okay, Dan, Bobby, Marnie, and Salah. What are you giving them?
Yeah, it was nicely put by Sophie. I had Salah down for the 10, but listen to what she said then, I thought, yeah, made a good point there. So I'm gonna give him a 9.5. He scored a lot of goals, but there's a couple of some of his performances here and there were a bit iffy, but it was sort of masked obviously by the goals, which of course is the most important thing. But yeah, the other two, Firmino and Mane, I've given them both a 7. They both would have been a bit lower, to be honest with you, especially Firmino, but they both had a bit of a late season flourish and scored some important goals, and obviously finishing the season on a bit of a high has given us all a bit of a buzz, so that it's probably boosted their marks. I think Firmino over the last few years now, we're seeing a gradual decline, aren't we, in his performances? So as I think it was Connor was saying, I think as first choice as number 9, that needs to now come, be at an end, and hopefully if we get someone else to replace him, maybe not flogging Bobby Firmino to death in every game and asking him to lead the line, and sort of picking and choosing his games that he plays and managing his game time. We might actually see a little sort of Indian summer, a little bit of a renaissance from him in terms of his form, but and his goal scoring, because as some of the other guys said there, his goal scoring form is just too patchy. You can be like 10, 13 games without a goal. That's not acceptable for a centre forward. And then Mane, a 7. He always tries hard, Mane, doesn't he? But for a large part of the season, he just seems to be running into brick walls. Poor decision making. He said he was worried about himself, didn't he? But he had blood tests and that sort of thing. But again, I'm sorry.
That's a bit much like getting blood tests. When that came out, I was kind of like, "Oh, come on, mate, give your head a wobble for crying out."
At least it shows that he was concerned about it, and he understood that he wasn't quite in his pomp. But yeah, I'd say that the late season form has given us all a little bit of a boost. So I'm going to give Mane the 7 as well.
Okay, and Owen.
Yeah, it's interesting about Mo Salah. He's another one I want to give 2 marks for, because if you mark him against what he could do, which is 44 goals a season, then it's a sort of 7 out of 10. It's interesting if you saw on LSC TV the interview when they presented him with the Player of the Season award as voted for by the fans. They were like, "Mo, it's been a really good season." He was like, "Yeah." For him personally, I don't think he's that happy with his performance, but if you compare it to anyone else and in the context of the season, it's a 10. So I'm going to give him a 10. He ended up with 31 goals and 6 assists. I believe 6 of those were penalties. But in all competitions, 31 goals and 6 assists. I mean, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? And had, his partners in crime managed to finish a few of those chances that he set up for them. I'm sure his assist count could have been like easily, at least double figures. But not triple figures, but at least 10. I'm going to say. So I'd give Bobby and Sadio. It's very difficult. I think Bobby Firmino in all competitions last season got 10 goals and 12 assists. This season, 9 goals, 9 assists. I think talk of his demise is too much, even in this conversation here. I think he's been very, very, very good. Again, partly let down by Sadio Mane next to him in terms of his finishing, because Sadio Mane has been utterly brilliant. Totally agree with everybody that he's been brilliant until the final decision, the final shot. So I give Sadio, he still ended up with 16 goals and 8 assists, Sadio Mane, which is not bad when you're playing off the left. It's pretty amazing. So I'll give him an 8. I'll give Bobby an 8.5 because no one questioned him last season when we got 99 points and he had very similar stats. And Salah a 10.
Very, 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 very interesting. Sophie just messaged to say that she will be away for 5 minutes. So we go on to a man who was injured on England duty is Joe Gomez, and he's another tricky one for me. I'm going to give him a 6.5 because I think whenever he played, he actually looked pretty good. And hopefully now he will come back fitter than ever. It is a really bad injury that he did suffer. What I will say, though, I did think Gomez did suffer a little bit. Connor, what would you give Gomez?
I think, again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, again, he's been injured for the majority of the season. I give Virgil a 7, so I'm going to give Gomez a 7 as well. I think when he was playing, of course, was very good for us. You know, became our number one centre-back for a period of the season. And, yeah, he didn't get injured playing for Liverpool. He got injured playing for England, which, you know, we know all of our thoughts on England and international duty anyway. But, look, I think, especially with Konate coming in now, it's healthy competition for Joe Gomez for next season as well. Him, Matip, Konate, Phillips, they'll all be fighting for that second spot alongside, Virgil van Dyke for next season. And I think, look, it's going to rise Liverpool's levels even higher than what they have been over the last couple of years. And yeah, I'm going to give Joey Gomez a 7 for this season.
Okay, Dan, what are you giving Joey Gomez?
Yeah, as I said before, when I'm starting off Van Dijk, I'm starting off these ratings with a 5 and I'm working it from there. He obviously, with his injury, barely played, but of course, he did play a little bit more than Van Dijk. And as it was kind of surmised then, when Van Dijk first got his injury, Joe Gomez, we were sort of saying, Joe Gomez is going to have to step up now. And for the few games that he played without Van Dijk, I thought he was doing that. He was stepping up. He was looking like a leader. It looked like it was going to be a good season for him, but obviously it's been curtailed, so there's not much else you can say, but I'll give him a 6.
6. Okay. Jack?
6.5 for me, mate, as the panel's already said. I think it's been a very difficult season. I think he's played 2 less games in the Premier League than the likes of Rhys Williams. So, yeah, there's a lot of untapped potential with this lad, and who's to see what he's going to come back. He might not come back the player in which he left Liverpool, obviously, in terms of getting injured. I'm hoping you do only have to look at the size of the scar in which he's picked up on England in duty. He's ridiculous, as Connor said. Don't get me started on in England. So yeah, a 6.5. And I'm hoping he does come back more fully fit than we expect.
Yeah, great answers from everybody. I agree with Jack, 6.5. I've got a list of all the matches he played in, and after, I thought he was a bit dodgy before Virgil got injured, actually. I mean, he played in the 7-2. He wasn't great against Everton. Part of that might have been the shock at the refereeing decisions and all that. But anyway, after that, he played against Ajax, Sheffield United, Midtjylland, West Ham, Atalanta, and Man City. And we won all of those matches apart from one, which was a 1-1 draw against Man City. And I do remember, as Dan said, that he did seem to step up and go up a level, but then unfortunately that injury happened. So I think he's third on the list of centre-backs for me. Because I think Virgil's obviously first, and Matip I think is marginally better than Joe Gomez, but he's still a wonderful player. 6.5 could have done better, but hopefully he'll be back, and back to his very best.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Now, I apologize to the panel because I made an absolute mistake. I was meant to put Adrian in between Joe Gomez and Jordan Henderson. So what I've had to do is I've actually had to put Adrian at the bottom of the list. Sorry, Adrian. No harm feelings. Adrian.
See, I feel like putting Adrian at the bottom of the list perfectly sums up Adrian.
Sophie, what would you give Gomez actually? Just before we go on to Adrian.
I'm going to disappear again in a minute. I'm still eating. 5.
5.
Same as Virgil. I know Gomez played a little bit longer, but I feel like when Virgil was there, Gomez wasn't at the top of his game. Then he stepped up for a while. Then he got injured himself and has been out. And based on that, I just for the length of his injury, I think you can't really justify. He did well, but he didn't do outstanding. And then he got injured, so 5.
5. Okay, Adrian. I'm going to come to Connor first. What have you given Adrian?
Do I give him 7 for the 7 goals he conceded against Villa? No. Look, Adrian is... he's Adrian, isn't he? You know, I only like that phrase from Rocky, and that's the only time I like to see Adrian on the team sheet anyway. But yeah, look, for me, I'm going to give him a 3. I think when he has come in
3
this season, I think his levels have just dropped. Like especially last season, of course. Like for me, I thought he was very good in being there as a replacement for Alisson Becker, of course, us winning the league last season. And I thought, for the 10 games that he was in for Alisson, I thought he was very, very good. And then this season, whenever he has come in, he's just looked super nervy against Villa, conceding 7. But then to be fair, the whole team against Everton, I think he could have done better for one of the goals there as well. I think he's only got 3 Premier League appearances this season, and reports are suggesting anyway they were going to give him a new contract for next year. But for me, I would say 3 for Adrian.
Okay. Owen, what would you give Adrian?
Yeah, 3 is a good shout, to be honest. I've got all of his appearances here this season in front of me. In the EFL Cup, he was in goal when we played Lincoln. I've no idea. My memory blanked that game out, but we won 7-2. In the EFL Cup, the next round at 0-0 against Arsenal. Kept a clean sheet. Well done. Then he played against Villa. He was unlucky. There were 4 deflected goals, but he was just he made everybody nervous. Awful performance. Everton, he wasn't that good either. 2-2. Then he kept 2 clean sheets against Ajax, very commendable, and against Sheffield United. But anyone can keep a clean sheet against Sheffield United this season. So, I don't know. I like him in terms of, I'd happily sit down, have a cup of tea with him. But I wouldn't want him in my goal. No, I would actually physically push him out of the goal and just get a steward in or someone else instead. 3.
3. Wow. Jack, what would you give Adrian?
A 2 for this season. I'm just having flashbacks to that Aston Villa game. I'm telling you, mate, you could have put me dad in goal and you would have done better. The traditional play on that game, the whole Liverpool defence was ship. It was absolutely all over the place at Villa Park. But the season which he had last season, he stepped in the absence. I was watching a documentary on YouTube before, the Liverpool documentary. He was so pivotal. And he had the desired impact in which you'd expect from coming in. Obviously, we won the Super Cup as well, with him in between the 6. But I think he'll be deeply disappointed by his performances, as Owen's alluded to, the matches in which he did play. But I'm hoping if he is called upon next season, whatever the future holds, I'm hoping he does have the desired impact in which we did have last year from him. But that Villa game, a 2. And a 2 is a very lucky rating for me because I would have went down to a 1. But 2, mate, just for that Aston Villa performance.
Dan?
Yeah, not much to add. That hasn't already been said. I mean, listen, this season had quite a few horror shows, didn't it? But the Villa game was the nadir, wasn't it? It was absolutely horrific. And I always sort of feel like he was the catalyst for it with that mistake in the very sort of fourth minute with that awful pass out. And then there's the one where I think I'd switched off by this time, but it comes across and he's like flapping for it, and Ollie Watkins hits the bar. It's like it's horrific. So yeah, he had his moments last season, but if I start from the 5 and work down, I can only give him a 3. It's an awful season for him, really.
Okay. I don't know if I want. I don't actually know if I want to give my mark for Adrian.
Go on, you give yours, then I'll give mine, because I assure you, mine is. I can assure you.
I've given him a 0. I am sorry, but jeez. I mean,
when that compilation you made, Doug, as well. Remember that compilation?
I honestly have never seen a goalkeeper that's actually. I've never actually seen a goalkeeper who is actually so badly positioned as Adrian. I thought Adam Bogdan was bad. I thought Simon Mignolet was bad. Jesus, I've never seen Adrian look so flat-footed and trying going for balls, etc. Honestly, yes, well done for the games the previous season there, but this season, Villa, Everton, even the Sheffield United, he blooming almost scored an own goal passing back to, I think it was Kabak. He just gives me jitters, so I'm sorry. I never give people a 0, but I have to give Adrian a 0. Sophie?
You're whinging about giving him a 0. This is literally the number I wrote down. I had to figure out where to put the comma. Okay? Where to put the comma. Minus, this is just the number I wrote down, 657,214. That's the number I wrote down. Honestly, ignore the doodles that I've been doing as we've been going along. But seriously, where is it? Adrian, minus 657. Do you know, when it came to Adrian, literally everybody else, I tried to be as fair as I could be, whether I liked them or disliked them. Like the Navigator thing, that was a fair, in my opinion, that was a fair score for him. Adrian, and I know the lad said about last season when he came in and stepped in for Alisson for those 10-11 games, I was really pleased with him, and I thought, oh my God, we've actually got a decent second choice keeper here who can do something. And it's like the nerves got the best of him. And he just went downhill very, 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 very quickly. And he was shockingly shit. And then I've just literally seen on Twitter, do you remember when Joe Gomez held the ball for ages and Adrian just rushed out and booted it away and ran into Gomez?
Against Gomez's shins, didn't he? Yeah, brilliant.
And you can see it in Gomez's face. He just goes, "What the fuck?" And I just think at that point, when your own players don't trust the keeper they got behind them, even our players trusted Karius and Mignolet more than that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no trust for Adrian, and that's why. I mean, I may have got a little bit hyperbole with the 657,000 minds, just a wee bit over, but the lads don't trust him. Klopp doesn't trust him. We don't trust him, and I just think doesn't deserve a rating in my opinion. To be honest with you, I just don't like him. It's one of those.
So we'll put an NA then, not applicable.
Minus 657,214.
I think the averages work out as lower because of all of our ratings before 0. So yeah.
Right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick out 2 players who literally, well, I don't know why they're here. One is Ben Davies. I put NA. I put NA, right? And but basically NA. I mean, he's Casper the Ghost. He's Casper the Ghost, I'm afraid. Would everyone agree that we can't really give Ben Davies a rating?
Yeah. So he hasn't played, has he? So
yeah, he hasn't played.
If you want to rate him on his Scouse hating tweets, probably a -10. But yeah.
What did he write?
Oh yeah, back in the day, had some choice words about Liverpool. He shit himself in the Liverpool interview when the interviewer said, "Oh, what about your tweets?" And he went, "What?" Because someone took off his tweets. But yeah, he's been basically a cardboard cutout this season, hasn't he? So
cardboard cutout. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to give you two people now who will probably be leaving the club this summer. So I'm going to give you Divock Origi and Xherdan Shaqiri. Now, I am honestly, I think we did the wrong thing keeping Origi. And I stand by that. I've given Origi a 3. And I don't think that's been harsh either. I honestly think. Do you remember that chance against Burnley, where he basically had the chance to basically just roll it into the net past Pope, where he went for power and it hit the crossbar, and just ever since then, it's like he hasn't been available for first team games, which makes me think that he is on the periphery now of potentially leaving the club. And for Xherdan Shaqiri, again, it's tricky because he's hardly played. And whenever he's played, he's come on off the bench. He hasn't started many games. I'm giving Origi a 3, and I'm giving Shaqiri a 5. Sophie, what would you give Shaqiri and Origi?
I gave Origi a 0 because whenever Origi did come on the pitch, all he did was walk. I don't think he ever broke a sweat. While all the other players are running around rat-arsed, trying to pick up the slack, he's stood in the middle of the park just standing there and then takes a few steps, jogs a little bit, and then does feck all with it. He's lost all momentum, he's lost all passion, and I couldn't care less if the door hit him on the way out. Gave Shaqiri a 3 because Shaqiri has come on in a few games this season. He's got out the basement, he's broken chains, and he's had a couple of decent little performances in there. He's not been great, but he's been all right. So 3.
Yeah. Connor, what are you giving Shaq and Origi?
Divock, it's time for you to go, lad. For me, I give Divock a 3. I thought I was being kind with that, and then I see everyone else's ratings, and it should have been a lot lower. But no, I give Shaqiri a 5. I think one of the things with Shaqiri is that the problem of that he's never. Well, it seems to be he's never available, but when he does come on, he never plays in the front 3 positions anymore. Jurgen always brings him on as the number 8, or he changes the system. And I think Jurgen realised that doesn't work with Shaqiri. Look, I think we'd all like Shaqiri to work. And I think, look, he's done his job for Liverpool. He's, been there, been that impactful player at times. But this season, it just hasn't worked out for Shaqiri. And I think in the summer, I think the two of them are most likely to leave. So, I'm giving Divock a 3 and Shaqiri a 5.
Okay, Jack?
I agree with what's been said by everyone. Origi, very frustrating figure this season. 9 appearances in the Premier League, no goals or no assists. That just says everything about it. For what Liverpool needed, especially this season, was an impact off the bench. And it's frustrating. If you bring him on in a Champions League final, he'll score. The highest stake the game. I wish we could play Champions League semi-finals and European Cups, because Origi would be getting you 40 goals a season if that was the case. So, a 3 for Div and a 5 for Shaqiri. He's registered 2 assists in 14 appearances in the Prem. As the panel's already said, you want more from him, but the sheer minutes, he's not played a lot, but you're wanting a bit more from him when he's coming off the bench. So a 5, mate, for me.
Okay, Dan?
I'll give Origi a 2. I can't really remember him playing. I was just wondering, actually, had he scored this season? I think Jack said he hadn't scored in the league. I don't know whether he scored in the League Cup in that game against Lincoln. I can't remember.
He scored 1 and got 2 assists in all competitions this season.
So that I'll just give him the 2 really, because I can't really remember him playing. It's sad really, because at times he has shown obviously had some big moments for us, but I think you sort of hit the nail on the head, Doug. We probably should have cashed in on him around the time after the Champions League when his stock probably never would have been higher. But, listen, he only cost 13 million in the first place. We've had plenty of money back off him in loan fees. We'll get a transfer fee. And what moments he's given us. He's written his name in Liverpool folklore. So good luck to him for whatever he does. But yeah, I think it's time to part ways. Shaqiri, another one who hasn't really played. He's always injured. When he is brought on, he tends to be brought on in losing positions or, when we're struggling for a goal with no rhythm. He hasn't had no fitness, whatever. So he hasn't really played. But I do remember him having a few sorts of useful cameos where he either got an assist or he got the pass before the assist. I remember West Ham away where he hit that lovely crossed ball to Salah. Yeah. I remember one of the Champions League games at home when we were struggling for a goal, and I think it was Sheffield United or maybe West Ham at home. He put a few balls to the eye of a needle and we managed to get a goal. So I'm going to give him 6. But yeah, another one I think probably now was future lies away from Anfield, and similar to Origi, he's played his part in some big games. Good luck to him. I wish him well.
Absolutely. Owen, what are you giving Shaq and Div?
Yeah, again, great. I don't have much to add. I mean, wonderful summary from everybody so far. But yeah, the Div, I mean, I wish him all the best, exactly as Dan said. But yeah, you can't give him more than a 2. I mean, I'd even give him a 1. He's played 542 minutes, which is less than Virgil van Dyke. This season, so that's how much of an impact he's had on our season. So it's just negligible. So really love the guy, but I don't know. I'll give him 2. I'll be generous because he's D-Rock and I like him, but 2, a generous 2. And as for Shaq, 4 assists and 1 goal in 829 minutes, and Shaqiri in the last 3 seasons I just added up, has only played in 2,124 minutes, which is less than Thiago Alcantara for Liverpool this season, despite being out for 3 months. So it's not enough. I mean, there's a really good player there, but he's going to be great for a team like, he's better off being a big fish in a small pond like he is for Switzerland, like he was for Stoke. And I wish him all the best, like with Divock, but I don't know. He's just not good enough for Liverpool, unfortunately. So I'm going to give him, a 4. A 4.
Yeah, that I have to say, Origi and Shaqiri definitely divided opinion, but that's what we're here for. That is definitely what we're here for. Okay, right, we're going to go to our fullbacks now. We're going to go to Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I've given both of them an 8.5. I think to begin with, Trent's season wasn't great. But Robbo's season, he has kind of gone off the boil a little bit, but I still think he's very, very consistent. Always puts in a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for me. So I've given them both 8.5. Owen, I'll come to you first for this one. Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, what are you giving both of them?
Yeah, see, again, if you're judging Andy Robbo as to the player he could be, I think it's only like a 7 out of 10 season for him. He's our top minute maker for the whole season with 4,347 minutes. And in the context of the season with everything that's gone on, I'm going to give him a 9. He only got 7 assists and one goal in all competitions. And there's a little bit of he just looked a bit jaded. Like Costas only played 7 minutes, which is quite a funny stat all season. So that's quite funny. But wow. Bless Andy Robbo for being so available and consistent, very good defensively, decent, but just lacked something for me. I'm going to give him an 8. I'll be 8. And yet Trent, unbelievable in the last 10 games. He had COVID. He was injured a bit. He did struggle for form. So, also an 8.
Oh, 2 8s. Very, very interesting. Sophie, what would you give Trent and Andy?
I gave Trent an 8.5 because I think even at his worst, he was better than most. he suffered with COVID and an injury, but he kept playing through with his injury as well for a long period of time, so he wouldn't leave us without. So I don't think you can deny Trent anything less than that, to be honest with you. I think anything less than that, and you need your head checking because you're chatting shit. Robbo, I gave Robbo a 7.5. The reason I gave Robbo a 7.5 is in a normal season, I wouldn't even dream about giving Robbo anything less than a 9. But Robbo has not been his best this season, and I know that's not unduly down to him. Defensively, he's been good, but going forward, he's not made those runs. He's not made that link up with Marnie as effectively as he has done previously. He's not been there as much in the assists as we've become accustomed to. I feel like Robbo, as Owen's just said, then, Tomiskas only played 7 minutes. That highlights how much Robbo played this season. Normally, you get maybe a little bit of rotation in. Milner used to slot in for the game when he, or take him off to 60 minutes, 70 minutes, in an easier game. But this season, we haven't, even the easy games have been very difficult. So I think Robbo's just been worked into the ground. He just hasn't hit his potential for me this season at all. It's not that he's had a bad season, just saying he's not been the best that it could have been.
Yeah. Can I just say something again, Doug? Sorry, just for context, because Shaqiri over the last 3 seasons, as I said before, had 2,124 minutes. Andy Robertson is on about 12,000 in 3 seasons compared to 2,000 for Shaqiri. So that's a bit of context for him. He needs a break.
Jeez, he does. Yeah, he definitely needs a break. Dan, what would you give Robbo and Trent?
Yeah, I think Owens just did it quite nicely on the head there. He's been so overplayed over the last few years. We haven't been able to give him a rest, and it has impacted on him this season. If he was a brand new signing and we just signed him, we'd probably be made up with him. But we know we can do a lot. He can do a lot more. It's funny because I think both him and Mane's form, the way they normally dovetail so beautifully, the fact that both of them not being on form has obviously impacted the other, and so it highlights that even more. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. You've got to give him full marks, as I say. Well, full marks for his consistency in terms of his performances. Trent, he had a sort of mid-season surveils for me, and obviously he's got dropped from the England squad, this, that, and the other. But towards the end of the season, the last sort of 10 games or so, he stepped up as a leader. You could see he was really pushing, to try and get us these results. He got a few great goals, assists. So for that reason, he gets a late season renaissance, and I give him an 8.5.
Very interesting. Mr. Niblett, what are you giving Andy and Trent?
I don't think I've ever been called that by you before, but that was kind of weird. But now look, this season they both have had to sacrifice themselves for the greater part of the team. Look, we're all as everyone else has said, we've all been accustomed to Trent and Robbo being our assist machines throughout the season, and look, they've had to, sacrifice that to go a bit more defensive. For me, I'm going to give both of them an 8. Okay. I think both of them having 7 assists in the league together, and their numbers are, I think maybe Luca Digne on the left hand side is a bit better than Robbo this season. But look, either way, for me, they're both the best in the Premier League and even in the world as well in their positions. That doesn't change overnight, in my opinion. And for me, with Trent, of course, Gareth Southgate took him out of that England squad to have a reaction, and by God, did he have a reaction for that. And if he doesn't go to the Euros, I've spoken about this plenty of a time. For Liverpool, it would be brilliant because he would get a full pre-season, and I would love that for Liverpool. Yeah. But for Trent personally, if he doesn't go to the Euros, Gareth Southgate has no idea about football. And look, I think the both of them next season, once we've got our squad back nice, fit and healthy, I think the two of them will be, a lot more attacking next season, and we'll see the best out of them again for next season for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And finally, Jack, what would you give Trent and Andy?
Amazing, as already panels hit the nail on the head with both of them. Trent, started off the season poorly, but what Liverpool player didn't, and he grew into it. Second half, Andy Robertson was the other way around. He started off very well, Mr. Consistent, and really, he's not putting in a bad performance, but back end of the season being quite questionable. But joints in terms of assists for Liverpool, and both of them 7 assists in the Premier League. Their output, their own worst enemy, really. That they've been phenomenal in terms of creative aspect. It can be deemed as probably one of their worst seasons in terms of creativity going forward, but that's had an impact on the whole Liverpool team in terms of creative output. But an 8 for both of them, mate. Fantastic. But there's so much to give next season. I think we'll see the best of them yet again.
Yeah, definitely. Is it fair to say that Taki Minamino doesn't get a rating? Because I think I can only remember him playing 2 games this season.
If we're talking Crystal Palace, then he gets a 10.
Yeah, totally. He's played 781 minutes, which is more than Nico Williams, Naby Keita, Virgil van Dijk, Divock, Adrian, who, we've given ratings to some of them, but apparently it was 781 minutes. Don't know, in the League Cup, I guess.
Ooh. Where?
I don't know.
These minutes while he's sleeping?
I'll tell you. I'll tell
you. Just because he spent his second half of the season out on loan, I just don't know if you can give any rating for Taki.
Well, I've got the matches here. So he played against Arsenal in the Community Shield. I don't know if he scored, actually.
He did.
And he played in the 2-0 over Chelsea, and then he played when we played Lincoln. Then he played in the 3-1 victory over Arsenal on the 28th of September, the 0-0 with Arsenal in the League Cup, the 7-2 loss to Villa, and his last... And 3 more performances against Ajax when we won 1-0, against Sheffield United when we won 2-1, and his last performance for... Oh, no, God Lord. All these things we've forgotten for this season. Then he played against Leicester, the 3-0 on 22nd of November. He played in that one. He played when we lost to Atalanta. He played in a 1-1 draw with Brighton, 1-1 draw with Midtjylland, a 1-1 draw with Fulham, the 7-0 against Palace, of course, the 4-1 against Aston Villa, and finally the 1-0 loss against Burnley. And that's when we shipped him out to Southampton. So there you go. There's the full list of appearances. Of course, he didn't play all of those matches, but only 780 minutes. But I can't remember any of them, so I can't give him a mark.
Will we just all agree that it's probably 3s or 4s across the board for Taki? Because I can't actually remember him playing a full 90 minutes.
I'd give him a 7. Only because in terms of the Crystal Palace performance, we see how pivotal those points were. There's been a lot more worse performers in Liverpool shirt than Taki, because it's been very frustrating that as Owen's just riddled off there, some very important results. And the way in which the season panned out, it's not like when he was on the pitch, he played very bad. It's more of a case of he didn't get a good run in the team, and obviously there's a lot more better players, but I was impressed by the minutes, and I just wish he got a bit more minutes. But the way the season panned out, there's been a lot more worse performers than Taki this season in this Liverpool team. Okay,
I mean my mark was a 5 because I'm just going on average. Jack says 7. Quickly, Connor, for you, mark for Taki?
I had 5 for Taki.
5. Sophie?
If we're just talking Palace, it's 10. Like
me and Minamino, what did I give him? I can't even. I'll scribble them out now. Shit. I think I gave him a 1, just because he went out on loan.
Okay.
I don't really, to be fair, he was one that if I'd have known we could have done refused to give ratings for, I wouldn't have rated him because he went out on loan and he barely played. So
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, let's start with a 5, so I'll give him a 5. I think it was interesting. The rumour was the only reason he sent him on loan was because they got a loan fee, and then he could subsequently pay for Ozan Kabak's loan fee and the Ben Davies transfer fee. I don't know if there's any truth in that, but it shows you how tight FSG are if it was true. But yeah, I'll just give him a 5 because he barely played.
And Owen not available, or
well, now I do remember. Yes, now I think it's fine. Yeah, I'm going to give him a 6. Hang on, what did I give for Shaqiri? Did I give him a 4? Because I think he was better than Shaqiri.
Yeah, you give Shaqiri a 4.
So a 5 for Taki.
A 5 for Taki. That's fine. Is there any point in marking Shimikas?
7 minutes.
No.
I'd give him a 1 for his haircut. You need to
his like if you're going by his Instagram, his teeth are gonna look supreme white. If you've looked on his Instagram,
has he had them done? Has he?
By the looks of things, yeah.
He's been in Liverpool for a year.
He's not on Turkey and have them done. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Sophie. I'm going Tsimikas 1. Like 7 minutes is ridiculously bad.
Hang on, sorry. I made a mistake. It's 7 minutes only in the Premier League. It's actually 227 minutes in all competitions, but it's basically nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with a 1. Sophie, you a 1 for Tsimikas? Yeah. Connor?
I'm not gonna lie, I wrote down on my notes. Who is this? That's what I wrote down on my notes. So I don't want to give him a rating, so 0.
0. Jack?
NA, because you can't really rate him for me personally.
NA. That's fair. Owen, what are you giving Tsimikas?
Yeah, not applicable again yet. Because I think if you play under 228 minutes, then it's not applicable.
Dan, are you the same as Jack?
To give him any, for me to give him any sort of like low rating would just be harsh because he hasn't had a chance to play. So I'll just give him an NA.
Okay, right. 3 defenders that we've had 1 that has been now injured, and we've had 2 that I think have really, really stepped up to mark. So we're going for Joe Matip, Rhys Williams, and Nat Phillips. I'm going to give Nat Phillips a 9. I think he has been our most consistent centre back all season for me. Rhys Williams, I give an 8.5. I think Rhys Williams has actually done all right. I think he's done all right. And for Joe Matip, I'm giving him a 7.5 for the games that he played. Who do I come to first for this? Well, this is going to be interesting. Dan, what are you giving Matip, Williams, and Phillips?
Matip obviously missed a lot of football, didn't he? But when he did play, he looked like a class. He is a class act, we know that. So I'll give him a 7.5 for the games that he played. Nat Phillips, I'm not going to rate him as high as you. Listen, I think he's done more than anything that we could have expected him to do, and I think he's been, a sort of outstanding defender probably of the year. But to give him an 8 or a 9 for me is too high. I'd give him an 8. Give him an 8. Mm-hmm. I think he's done okay. And then Reese Williams, bit lower. I think when he's played, he's always looked a bit nervous to me. So I'll just give him a 6.5. But by the way, 10 out of 10 for them for stepping up at the end of the season. I thought, that was good.
100%.
In terms of their actual performances, 7.5 and 6.5 for Reese Williams.
Okay. Sophie?
I gave Williams a 9. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. I think he's really stepped up to the plate. He's a young lad who was playing on loan, was going to be sold to the highest bidder type thing, get an auction house, the poor kids. And he's probably stepped up this season for us. And I think you've got to accept and understand who he's tried to replace, whose shoes he's tried to fill, which is a very difficult task. And then he's been paramount in us getting top 4, in my opinion. Williams, I gave Williams an 8 because, again, I think he played really, really well. And I think people tend to forget how he played in those Champions League games to begin with when he first had those first appearances for us. He was absolutely phenomenal, and everyone started hyping him up there, being like, oh my God, he's a mini Virgil. He looks like a mini Virgil with his little bun. He is a mini Virgil. Look the way he plays, blah, blah, blah. And I said, don't hype that kid up because it'll all come crashing down. And it did. But then he pulled his socks up and he carried on, and he's done a good turn for us. So the kid deserves an 8 because he would never have touched that first team had even Matip still been fit. He'd then never got near that in a month of Sundays. Matip, I gave Matip a 7 because I absolutely love that baby giraffe. I think he's a fantastic player. You know, when he plays brilliantly. Oh yeah,
his little hands. I just think that's fantastic.
See, out of context, Matip accounting it.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think if Matip hadn't been injured, I don't think Rhys Williams makes the team, as Sophie said. Connor, what would you give Matip, Williams, and Nat Phillips?
Nat Phillips for me gets a 9. I think he was absolutely outstanding throughout this season. Massively stepped up. Like, to be fair, like all the youngsters did this year, but Nat Phillips, you know, he'd put his head through a brick wall for you to get that ball, and I absolutely love him for it. And I think, look, if Liverpool are looking at any centre back, give Nat Phillips a brand new contract, because I think he deserves a contract, in my opinion. So he's a 9 for me. Rhys Williams, 8.5. I agree with what everyone else said. If it wasn't for Matip being injured, he wouldn't have had a chance this season. But you know, he's come in at, you know, playing non-league football, and done an absolutely fantastic job. And look, I think next season he'll be going out on loan, and getting that experience in. And I think, look, whoever's going to get him, they're going to get a really good centre back because he is very, very good for such a young age. And Mr. Weetabix, as I like to call him, but I do love him, to be fair, because he does have the structure of a Weetabix, sadly. But I'm going to go for a 6 for Joel Matip. When he plays, it's around an 8 or a 9. But it's just, for me, it is just the problem of when is he going to play, and how long the Liverpool have him throughout the season, because it just seems there's only a limit for Joel Matip, and then, you know, Liverpool are bringing out the news saying he's out for the rest of the season, which for me is, you know, it's gutting to see, because I think Matip is easily one of the best centre backs in the Premier League. But yeah, those are my ratings for them.
Okay, Jack. Oh, muted.
No.
It's all right. You can hear the busies in the background, probably trying to get Naby Kai to arrest him for the amount of bad performances he's had there. So, yeah, it's a 7 for Joel Matip. He's not played a lot of games, 10 appearances in the Premier League, 1 goal. I think he got 1 clean sheet as well. 3 clean sheets, sorry, in those 10 games. 7 sounds. I'm happy with that. Rhys Williams, 9 appearances, 3 clean sheets for Liverpool, no goals. I give him a 9, just solely because of his age and how much was asked of him. As Sophie alluded to, his appearances in Champions League, thrust into the limelight against Ajax. I think a lot of players, young players his age, would have crumbled with the pressure. So a 9, just due to the sheer impact in which he had on Liverpool and the sheer importance in which we looked upon this lad, 20 years old, so much importance put on those young shoulders. And that, 9.5, 7 clean sheets, 1 goal. And we all remember that goal back end of the season. For me, he's Liverpool's second most important player this season. So I'll give him a 9.5. As similar to Rhys, a lot was asked of him, 24 years old. And whether Liverpool do give him a new contract, as Connor said, or if we do look to sell him and recoup a lot of transfer fee, because I think there'll be a lot of Premier League sides out there that would have been very impressed. All of us were very impressed when he was out, and we missed that aerial ability in which he offered. You're like, Nat would have headed that away. He would have, as everyone says on Twitter, he would head her away his nan if she was in the box. So yeah, a 9.5 for Nat. So that man, you would never phase him. He'd head absolutely everything that got put into that box. So a 9.5 for Nat, a 7 for Joel, and a 9 for Reese as well.
Okay, and Owen, what are you giving Matip, Williams, and Phillips?
Matip, it was his worst season for minutes. He played 1,500 minutes 2 seasons ago, and then last season 1,000 minutes. And this season about 800. So that's a total of 3,447 minutes in 3 seasons. And if you compare that to Virgil van Dyke last season, he was ever present. I don't know whose child that is. It's not the one I keep in the box.
Daddy! Daddy! I think it might be Daddy's.
Oh, okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I promise you, it's not. It's not the one that I keep next to the printer, because that one's hasn't said anything for months. But the 3,447 minutes over 3 seasons is not really good enough, is it, for Matip? But he's brilliant when he's on the pitch. So yeah, I don't know, 8, because why not for Matip? He contributed when he was there. And Reese Williams, I'm not convinced about his ability, really. He did start off very well, good clean sheets in the Champions League. But 6.5 for Reese. But in context of the season, 10 out of 10. In the context of the season, of course, Nat Phillips, 10 out of 10. In context of maximising his own ability, 10 out of 10 for Nat Phillips. But, a realistic score about, like how good he is as an actual player. I mean, I think he's better than a lot of people say, but I'd give him an 8.5.
8.5. I had written down 10 there just because you said 10. So
right. 2 other players who were on the periphery of didn't play many games. So we're going for Kelleher and Neco Williams. Kelleher, whenever he stepped up, I thought he was very, very good. I've given him a 7. And Neco Williams, I've given him a 6.5. I think defensively he still needs to work on his game. I'm gonna go Neco Williams 6.5 and Kelleher 7. Sophie, what are you giving Kelleher and Neco?
Honestly, you're going to shout at me for this, but I actually gave Kelleher a 1 because I couldn't remember any games he played for us this season. I really couldn't, and I'm racking my brains, and I was going, don't act. And I remember him. I know he's good, and I know when he has played, he has been all right for us. But I haven't seen hiding ahead of him, so that's the reason I said it, because there was nothing that I remembered him. I thought, oh, yeah, he did that, like nothing. So until you mentioned the games, then I completely forgot he'd even played for us. And I just kind of like, the kid's done nothing really, has he, this season? So yeah, but. Do what? I'll change it. I'll go run in the middle. I'll go 5.
Okay.
Just because I feel like I've been connected here now, because I just didn't even know the kids. And Neco Williams, I gave him a 5 as well. He's come in and he's been rinsed, hasn't he, the poor kid? But he tried, didn't he? Bless his little arse.
Yeah, the moment of the season for me, which really annoyed me, was the abuse he got when we won 7-2 against Lincoln. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. Actually, there is a video I've done on that many months ago now, but I was livid. I was absolutely livid, and I'm pretty sure Jack did one as well, if my memory serves me correctly. Jack, what are you saying for Kelleher and Williams?
Yeah, I agree with Soph. Not really played a lot of minutes. Just looking at the stats here. In the Prem, Neco, 6 appearances. Probably I want to tell you the minutes in a little second. Didn't play a lot of minutes in terms of that. Kelleher, I think he did play the Cup games. Not an amazing couple of decent-ish saves. Not an Alisson Becker-esque. He's still a young lad. A lot of potential. I think Jürgen, we were discussing Adrian leaving the club. I think Jürgen does see a lot more better options in terms of Kelleher due to his age and the potential of him. So I think we will see Kelleher being Liverpool's number 2 next season. But yeah, 5s for both of them.
5s for both of them. Okay, Connor?
Kelleher, to be fair, I did have to think about what games he did play for us. And then I remembered that
It's not just me.
Well, to be fair, it's been a very long season. But no, look,
It has.
it's I think the 2 standout games were both the Champions League games that he made appearances in. I think he kept 2 clean sheets.
Oh yeah,
in those games, and he was, and he made, I think, 1 or 2 crucial saves in that. But apart from that, look, we didn't see much of him, did we? Either Adrian was called upon, or of course, Mr. Reliable Alisson Becker was there. But for me, what we did see of him this season, I'd give him a 7, and then Neco, I'd give him a 5. Me personally,
5. Yeah.
I expected more from him this season to maybe push Trent. And there's a doggy.
Hello, Albie.
He's more interested in what I've got to feed him.
But no, I expected Trent to be a lot more pushed by Neco, and sadly he wasn't. And of course, with it being the Euros, and I think Neco will be Wales's number 1 right back. I would have liked him to push a bit more, but hopefully, maybe next season, or maybe he might go out on loan somewhere. I know Southampton has been linked towards Neco.
Sorry, Connor, the police are back for Naby.
The day we sell him will be probably the best day in loads of people's days. But no, look, I give a 5 for Neco and then a 7 for Kelleher for me.
Dan?
Yeah, not a lot I can add really to that. I'd give him Kelleher a 6. I think when he played, he did okay. As I think it was Jack said, he didn't, have these like amazing games, amazing saves. But when he did play, he looked okay. I think one thing you need with him, maybe a loan move, and I think he just generally just needs to fill out a bit. But he looks like he's got real potential. His ability with the ball at his feet, especially, is excellent. So I'll give him a 6. Nico Williams, or Neco, I'm not too sure how you pronounce it. I was a bit disappointed with him this season. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
He seemed to play a lot more last season, and I thought that this season he might kick on, but he didn't. I mean, he got all that flack, didn't he? As you alluded to before, from some of these idiots on the Twitter and the Instagram and all that. So I don't know how much that affected him. I'm sure it probably did, because he's only a young boy. But as I say, he didn't really kick on from last season, where I thought he was showing real promise last season. So I'm going to say, if I start from that 5, I'll give him the 4. So 4 for him.
Okay.
4 for Nico,
Owen?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment by Dan about Nico Williams. The actual minutes is 767 minutes. So he's sandwiched between Taki and Keita. But yeah, he was a bit disappointed this season. Not as bad as some people said, but I don't know. It just sort of average. Like, he looks like there's a great player in there somewhere. But yeah, I'll give him a 5. For Kelleher, I'm very positive about Kelleher. I think a forgotten performance of the season was, including by me, as only Auntie Google who told me just now, all of the games that Kevin Kelleher has played in. And he played the 1-0 against Ajax back on the 1st of December. And according to this site, footballcritic.com, they gave him a 7.6 rating. He was brilliant that night. I do remember that, him coming into the Champions League, that was his second appearance of the season. He was really like Liverpool under 21 in a cup game, lost 6-1 to Wigan Athletic in the the new sort of Football League trophy or whatever it's called. So that was an official game he played, and we lost 6-1. It wasn't his fault. But yeah, he was brilliant against Ajax, kept a clean sheet, and then in the next match he played against Wolves. 5 days after that, he kept another clean sheet. So that was very, very impressive. He also played against Midtjylland, conceded 1. Played against Villa, conceded 1, and played against Brighton and conceded 1. But I think he's got a marvellous talent. I'm going to give him an 8 because as a young goalkeeper, it takes ages for goalkeepers to learn how to be good. And he's already way ahead of the curve. And I think he's going to be a phenomenal goalkeeper. I really do. I'll give him an 8.
All right, Kelleher for me needs a loan move for a season. He needs regular game times. The Seamus Moore. Deguzi has given Nick Williams a 5. So we are nearly there, ladies and gentlemen. We are nearly there. So we have 2 players that came in. One came in January and one came in the summer. We have Ozan Kabak and Diogo Jota. Now, Kabak's only been here half a season. I'm sad we're not going to sign him, in all honesty. I've given Kabak a 6, but for Jota, outstanding season that he's had. Yes, he has been injured a lot. That's obviously of Klopp's fault. We don't really fault Klopp sometimes, but that decision to play him against Midtjylland has definitely backfired. But Jota, for me, he's still got 9 goals. This season. For me, Jota will get an 8.5. For me, Sophie, what are you giving Jota and Kabak?
I've given Jota a 9 because he came in like an absolute firecracker, didn't he? Like, nobody ever thought when we signed Jota that he was going to be a player that we'd want playing over our front 3 at times. We thought he was going to be a good sub or someone to rotate the boys. Like, we never thought he'd be competition for them, for their places in the starting lineup. We never thought that was going to happen, and it did, because myself included, I preferred him over Bobby for quite a lot of the season. He was incredible. Had he not got that injury, I have no doubt that he'd have been really high up in the goal scoring, and we'd have been flying a lot better than we were. He's just so quick and nimble, and I adore him. And I can't wait to see him next season when everybody, and I feel like I say the same thing, when everyone's back, when all the buddies are back. But he's in something else, isn't he? Kabak, I gave Kabak a 7.5. I feel like he played really, really well. I didn't have any issues with Kabak as a centre-back at all with a player. Albie clearly disagrees with me about that one. He thinks more for that. Do you think Kabak should get more? Yeah? Okay, should we give him an 8? Okay, well, Albie's told me we're giving him an 8. There you go.
8. Okay.
I'll give him an 8.
8. Good old Albie. Good old Albie. Dan, what are you giving Kabak and Jota?
Jota, I think I'd have to agree with what you said. Really pleasantly surprised with him. Wasn't expecting so much from him. I thought, he might be an impact sub, might be a bit of a squad player, but he very quickly established himself in my eyes that he should have been starting the games. And as you quite rightly said, when he played in the dead rubber in the Champions League and he got injured for about, I think he missed out 13, 14 matches, wasn't he? And we were flying insane. We were top of the league when he got that injury. And that was a big mistake of Jurgen Klopp. So I'm really happy with him. Yes, so I'm going to give him a 9. I don't think he could have done much more, to be honest with you. The goals, when he come back from his injury, they did dry up a little bit, but he was still making, some important contributions, including, of course, the equaliser at Man United. Kabak, I think he did okay. I don't think he was outstanding. I think with his lack of pace, he's always going to struggle to be a fixture in a Jurgen Klopp team. And I think the performances late on of Nat Phillips basically sealed the deal for him. I think Klopp will use Phillips as a sort of backup player and use the 18 million that he would have spent on Kabak elsewhere. So, yeah, he did okay. I wish him well. Thank you for sort of helping us sort of secure the Champions League position. But, yeah, 7 out of 10 for Kabak.
Okay, very, very interesting. Connor, what are you giving Kabak and Jota?
For me, Jota, it's a 9 for me. I think, as other people have said, we were pleasantly surprised with Jota coming in and scoring goals. And like I said earlier, I think Bobby Firmino in that false 9 is a done thing, and I think Jota is the guy to replace him. In my personal opinion, I think he is the man. I remember, we were all excited for Thiago, wasn't we? And then the next day it was like, oh, Ishmael, we were all after Ismail Assar from Watford, wasn't we? And then, Jota comes along and, just brings smiles on our faces. And look, there's been crucial performances, him coming off the bench at the beginning of the season against Arsenal, the Champions League game against Atalanta, getting the hat-trick, only Sadio Mane under Jurgen Klopp, as far as I know, has got a hat-trick under Jurgen Klopp in the Champions League. So, that was kind of nice as well. And yeah, if it wasn't for his injury, I could definitely see him up there, scoring, a ton of more goals. I think he's got, 9 goals in 19 appearances, which, is phenomenal, really. And yeah, I think next season he'll be absolutely brilliant again. So a 9 for him. And then Ozan Kabak, I've gone for an 8 for Kabak.
8.
Yeah, I think he came into the squad with a broken defence and it was tough for him, and it was tough for him to learn. We saw that from the Leicester game, him making the mistake with Ali and getting cross roads and that. And I think apart from that, I think he did a solid job. I think the standout game for me that I can think of about Kabak was against Sheffield United, where him and Nat Phillips were just covering for one another. Again, another game as well. I think Wolves away was another good game for Ozan. So yeah, I think with him being, for £17 million, I don't think Jurgen wants, a fifth choice centre back for 17 million being on the bench. And I think he'll definitely make a move towards a Leicester or even a Leipzig that are interested in him as well. But yeah, those are areas.
Well, very interesting. Owen, what would you give Kabak and Jota?
Yeah, great summaries from everybody so far. Yeah, Kabak. If you can rate it on heart, I wish everyone who signs for us from here on forever has exactly the same attitude as Kabak, because it was top notch, wasn't it? 10 out of 10 for attitude. He clearly loves the club. He really wanted to be there, wanted to give his all, and he did. And so, brilliant. Not quite the best defender yet. He's only 21 years old. So phenomenal. He's only just turned 21 as well. So great effort. Did well as well. He matched it with ability. You can see he's got wonderful talent. I'll give him an 8. And Jota, I give him an 8.5. I was going to say, no, it's a 9. It's a 9. He got 13 goals in all competitions, Jota, 1,760 minutes. Mane played basically double the amount of minutes and got 16 goals. So if Jota, can stay fit for next season, there's no reason why he can't get, 25 goals, which would be absolutely amazing from the left side or from wherever he wants to play. So yeah, he's dangerous. He could do better with his passing. He could do better in certain aspects, but he's a wonderful, dangerous player. I love watching him play. So yeah, for a debut season, I'll give him 9. Actually, 9.
Interesting. And finally, Mr. McKindo, what are you giving Kabak and Jota? Even to Chris Welsh, by the way. Good evening, Reds. Just came back in for my uncle's birthday buffet. Well, happy birthday to your uncle, Chris.
I like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully you left some scram for us, mate. Hope you enjoyed the buffet, mate. It filled your plate. I think everyone loves a good buffet. Hope you had a good birthday, mate. Yeah, as the panel's already said, Kabak coming to Liverpool, 20 years old. There's one bit of goodness. I don't mean that's the word. Look now. He didn't get to play alongside his idol, did he, Kabak? Obviously, it was very publicised in terms of Kabak wanting to. He loves Virgil Van Dyke. I think we all do anyway. There's no person on this planet that doesn't. So if he stays, if he goes, I think he will be moving to RB Leipzig. I think Michael Edwards has done a little cheeky discussion in terms of allowing RB Leipzig to have free reign on that potential transfer. So he's come in, as Connor said, at a time and moments in the season that a lot of question marks was getting questioned about every Liverpool player, especially in that defence. It was getting surgically reviewed every single game, but he come in, performed well, 20 years old. I've seen a lot more worse 20-year-olds at Liverpool Football Club, but yeah, what have I given? A 7.5, and Jota a 9. Phenomenal. The amount of goals, match winners that Jota scored prior to him getting injured. There were so many games that we won 2-1. He was getting the decisive goals, and if it wasn't for his goals in those pivotal games prior to him getting injured, I don't think Liverpool finish in the top 4 anyway. We can talk about Salah, but yeah, a 9 for Diego Jota, mate.
Absolutely. Fabinho, Salah, Phillips worthy winners for player of the season for us, says Chris Welsh. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Kabak, Kabak could be a player that maybe in the future we could look at possibly signing. He is young and he can gain more experience at a different club. Jota signing this season for us, says Chris Welsh. We have 3 left, and then we'll be at the end. So we have Jordan Henderson, Alex Oxlade Chamberlain, and Curtis Jones. Connor, what are you giving Hendo, Oxlade Chamberlain, and Jones?
I think Sophie's dog's having a bit of fun, but I'm not going to lie.
Scratching his pillow to make his bed. There you go.
Oh, bless.
Good job, you're bloody cute. You're cute. I'd make you into slippers otherwise.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, Hendo, for me, I've given Hendo an 8. For me, I think when he has played as normal, isn't it? You know, he makes Liverpool's midfield go up by 10 yards. He is the skipper, the leader that, you know, we all know and love. And when he's not there, he's noticeably, you know, he's missed. And him at centre-back this season alongside Fabinho, you know, that was a terrible time. You know, we didn't want to see them two at centre-back, really. But apart from that, I think, you know, him in centre mid. I think we didn't lose when he was in midfield, or we might have lost one game. You know, which just shows you, you know, what we are with Liverpool when Hendo's in the midfield. Ox for me gets a 5. It's really disappointing for Ox because I really want to see that 17-18 Ox again that was, you know, phenomenal for 6 months. And sadly, you know, the knee injury, you know, that happened and he hasn't got going again. Similar, you know, I think what Owen was talking about with Naby Keita, Ox for me relies on momentum and games. And that for me is what he's not going to get at Liverpool at the moment. Maybe he might look somewhere else for that. But yeah, for me, I think, you know, a 5 is pretty reasonable for that. And I'm not going to lie, I forgot the last player.
Curtis Jones.
Curtis Jones. Oh, the lovely Scouse lad. I've gone with an 8 for Curtis Jones. I think he's, for me, is growing more and more into that midfield position where he will be a world star. You know, Man City at the minute are talking about Phil Foden and things like this. For me, I think Curtis Jones will be a phenomenal talent over the next 2-3 years and beyond. But yeah, of course, growing that step up, you know, this season, growing into that midfield role. And I think, look, people say that, you know, oh, he's going to be the Genie replacement. No, Curtis Jones has his spot in this Liverpool team for sure. And I think, look, he's going to get better with age, of course. And I think he's one for definitely the future.
Definitely. I absolutely agree. Funnily enough, I've given Curtis Jones an 8. I've also given Oxlade Chamberlain a 5, and I've given Jordan Henderson 8.5. I thought I said my 3 for them, but obviously I didn't. Sophie, what are you giving Hendo, Ox, and Jones?
Given Jones a 7. Really rate Jones very, very highly. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He was meant to be integrated, in my opinion, into the first team this season. Had things gone to plan, but things didn't go to plan. So his career development into the first team is pushed back to next year, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. As Connor's just very rightly said, he's not a Genie replacement. He doesn't play like Genie. That's not his style. He's got his own role, his own style, his own tactics. And we've seen what welly of a left foot he's got on him. Like, he can score some wonderful goals, and I can't wait to see him. Ox, I gave Ox a 4. I feel like we just don't. Ox, I love him. I just don't think we're going to ever see the best of Ox again. We're never going to see that pre-ACL Ox ever again, in my opinion. I will hold my hands up and I will say, on that live stream when Ox scored that goal, I turned and went, why are you going to bring Ox on? What the fuck's he going to do apart from stand there? He's not going to do nothing. I went, but if he wants to come on and score a Walesy, I'm all right with that. And he comes on and scores a Walesy. So I'll give him that, but I just think Ox, as Seamus Mills just said in the chat there, Ox needs to move on for me. He hasn't done anything of note apart from that one goal. I can't really think of anything that Ox has done this season that stood out in my mind. And it's been a season where the smallest of things will stand out for the best of reasons. And the last one, Hendo. I gave Hendo an 8. He is our captain. I absolutely adore him. The less said about him, the better, because I don't think there's much you can say about Henderson because what hasn't been said already. He's phenomenal. If he hadn't got injured, he'd be getting a much higher rating, in my opinion. He is irreplaceable in our team. This season is massively highlighted and emphasised his importance as a skipper. And without him, God knows where we'd be.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, his versatility has been so important with him having to move into centre-back as well. Jack, what are you giving Hendo, Ox and Jones?
Give Hendo a 7.5. Hugely missed. He's played 21 games or 21 appearances in the Prem, Hendo, and 1 goal and an assist in the Prem. So 7.5 standard. I'm hoping he stays more fit next season. Ox, probably the only man of the match display he done this season was in the bedroom with Perry. So yeah, I give him a 5. He spent more time making TikToks and going up the stairs this season. So yeah, a 5. Not really being hugely impressed by him. I demand from the midfielders. We're talking about the midfielders this season. We've went through the whole midfield this tonight, and there's so much more he can give. Obviously, we're not. I don't think we're ever going to get that Ox that got injured prior to the Ajax, the Roma game. Anyway, he was playing at his best level then. So I'm hoping he comes back and he stays fully fit. But it's too many if buts and maybes in terms of any potential regaining of form. I think he needs to move on. So 5 really angers me watching him do all those TikToks. And who's the other player, mate?
Curtis Jones.
Yeah, 7.5 for Curtis. I think there's so much more he can give, and I think just on the appearances he's made, 2 assists and 1 goal in the Prem, 24 appearances in the Premier League. So he's featured quite prominent this season. So obviously in terms of minutes, not played a lot, but it's important. I think this has been very much a breakthrough season. He's played a lot more. Obviously, we've seen him in previous campaigns, but this season, I think Jurgen's given him a bit more confidence in terms of selection. So a 7.5 for Curtis, mate.
Okay, Dan, what are you giving Hendo, Ox and Jones?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with Henderson with an 8.5. Obviously, as everyone said, he was sorely missed when he was injured, but wherever he did play, whether it was in midfield or whether it was in central defence, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. What a player he's developed into. We all know about his travails in his early career, and not just a great player, but what a leader and what a captain. He epitomises everything that's good with this current sort of incarnation of Liverpool. He's brilliant. So 8.5 for Henderson. Fingers crossed we can get him fit and keep him fit next season. Oxlade Chamberlain, I've given him a 4. It's been an absolute car crash of a season for him, hasn't he? He was injured, wasn't he, at the start of the season? When he did get fit, he just couldn't seem to get any sort of form whatsoever. In and out, injured again, whatever. Obviously, he's ended the season on a little bit of a high with the goal against Burnley, but I think, it's time for him to move on. I think move will do him some good. Whether anyone wants to come in for him based on his injury record, and I presume he's on decent money, that's a different story. And Oxlade, Curtis Jones, I've given him a 7. I thought it was Jack summed it up perfectly. It was a bit of a breakout season for him in terms of appearances. He played a lot more this season than he'd ever played before. Next season, he needs to build on that by starting to be more involved in the games in terms of assists, in terms of goals, in terms of taking games by the scruff of the neck. So well done to him for sort of, making a place in the squad his own. Next season, I want to see a bit more from, but 7 out of 10 for Curtis Jones.
Absolutely. Only rating Kate is getting as a report from the hospital. I thought that was a great comment from Chris.
Oh, Chris, you missed that. It's lovely watch. Rewind.
What did I say? Didn't I tell you that's a comment that Chris would make Holby City? Told you?
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Mr. Thomas, for Henderson, Ox and Jones, what are you giving them?
Henderson a 9. He's a monster. He's a beast, but he's not quite as available as we would like, of course. No fault of his own, but a great captain off the pitch as well. I think his leadership this season has been absolutely superb. Actually, I'm going to give him a 9.5 because there's not much you can. I'm just taking the 0.5 away because he wasn't always there when we needed him. But off the pitch, he's been outstanding, doing, wonderful stuff. I love the way he did that sort of, anti-bullying thing on his social media. Wonderful guy. If I had a cat, I would know a gerbil. I would name it after Jordan Henderson without a doubt. Oxlade Chamberlain, 299 minutes. 299 minutes. We've basically done about.
I thought it was less than that. I thought it was less than that for Ox, but there we go.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 17 appearances with 2 starts, but most of those appearances, 15 off the bench. But yeah, 299, 1 goal, 1 assist, not good enough in terms of appearances. He lost that burst. So yeah, 4. But Curtis Jones, I think everybody's been underrating Curtis. I think he's a solid 9 out of 10, if not more.
9.
If you look at certain things, I mean, he's 20 years old. He's played how many games is it? It was excuse me, I've got it here.
Thanks, Jeannie.
22 starts. Thank you, Jeannie. Thanks for joining us. So about 1,952 minutes, 4 goals, 5 assists in all competitions, which is amazing for a midfielder. And if you look at his stats, for example, non-penalty expected goals, assists, where are we? Passes attempted, pass completion, progressive carries, touches in the attacking penalty box, and progressive passes received. So he's getting into good positions. That's 7 metrics. He's in the top 10% in the top 5 leagues in Europe. That's 7 metrics out of about 14 or so, or maybe less, 12 in all of Europe's top 5 leagues. I think he's been massively underrated because he's been utterly excellent in many ways, but also defensively he's not bad. I mean, he can improve in that area, but with the ball, I'm like Connor said, at the beginning, I think he could be like, one of the players to watch. In the next, I mean, we're going to love watching him and Trent in the next 10 years, the 2 Scousers. But I mean, I think he definitely a 9. I think he's unbelievable talent. I would, suggest he could, if he continues in this improvement based on a couple of seasons ago, he could be like a Ballon d'Or winner in the future. I really do.
Yeah, he is definitely that good. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend another Friday evening with you guys. Look, player ratings, I think we have to say thank goodness 2020-21 season is over. And now, obviously, our weekends and nights are going to be dominated by Euros now. So there will not be any Friday LFC Focus show probably until the start of the season, which will probably be August. So, yeah, Jack, Connor, Sophie, Dan, absolute pleasure to have you guys as panelists, and I hope you will all
thanks for having us, mate.
Come back in August and do it all over again. No,
no, you done with it.
I'm done with it. 2.5 hours, I'm done. I'm not doing it.
But I hope you guys have enjoyed this show.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I've loved it. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'll come on anytime.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
Cheers for having me on, Doug. It's been a pleasure speaking to everyone. I've really enjoyed doing this. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go and get my tea because I think my dad's about to rob it out of the oven. So yeah, you can hear him.
To be fair,
but
just have us on speed dial. Connor. Just have us on speed dial, and we'll just come running like
the Avengers. We're assembled.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we've got our group chat on on Twitter as well. But no. And Owen, thank you very much. As always, it's really good to get you back on. And obviously go and check out the Kop On podcast. And I'm pretty sure I'll be back on a Kop On at some point. Obviously, I won't be on Wednesday because obviously I'm working, sadly. But Jack, pleasure as always. Jack, thank you very much as well. Go and check out Mack LFC. Connor. Check out Connor from the Kop Council. Let's get Connor to 500 subscribers very, very quickly, hopefully. Sophie, thank you very much as well. Yanks of the Kop, their Friday show is on at 10 o'clock. Go and check that out. The Dan from the Mighty Days TV, he deserves more subs. Let's get him to at least 100. I'd
settle for 50 at the moment, Doug. I'm struggling. Come on.
Oh, man. That's because your kid keeps going, Daddy.
I know. I'm going to have to go and see what's up with him. Hopefully, he hasn't been sat on the toilet for an hour waiting for me to wipe his bum. No, he hasn't. He's fine. He's playing. His mum's downstairs. Don't worry, it's not neglect or nothing.
Not neglect.
All right. But
You better have your dinner ready.
But from all of us, you'll never walk alone. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the last episode until the new season, where I'm going to decide on the next episode. I think we'll probably do season predictions, so that should be quite fun as well. But thank you everyone for watching. If we have obviously missed you in the live chat, then we don't do it on purpose. Just leave us a comment, and I'm sure the 6 of us will be able to reply to your comment as well. But thank you very much for watching. Yeah, Euro 2021 is just around the corner. Enjoy that, and we'll be back with a bang in
Playing
August.
for no injuries, please.
I can't take it anymore. I'm off myself.
Good night. Speak to you later.
See you later, guys.
Cheers, Reds.